about lug nuts, jack stands, and more. 122 million parts. Do they have tissues? Oh, good, because I'm definitely a crier. Get the right parts at the right prices. eBay Motors. Let's ride.
Wireless headphones. That'll be $200.
I'll use my Capital One Quicksilver card.
Now that's a hit. You used the Capital One Quicksilver card, which makes you the hero of every purchase. With Quicksilver, you earn unlimited 1.5% cash back on every purchase everywhere.
I wanted running music, but unlimited 1.5% cash back is pretty heroic.
Good instincts. Every hero needs a theme song. The Capital One Quicksilver card. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
You've been putting back a few, and a few becomes a few too many. For a moment, you think of calling for a ride, but nah, you live nearby. What's the worst that could happen? You get pulled over. Your insurance goes up. You lose your license. You total your car. You kill someone. The results of driving drunk are tragic. That's why law enforcement is out there looking for impaired drivers to save lives. So if you think you're okay to drive after a few drinks, think again. Drive sober or get pulled over. Paid for by NHTSA.
Hey everybody, it's Stephen A. Smith, and everyone knows my feelings on Cowboys fans. But really, Justin Kenner, you're a Cowboys fan and a Browns fan? Good Lord have mercy. I don't know what the hell to do with y'all. I really don't.
It's the Justin Kenner Show with Kev Nash. Weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Well, happy Friday. Welcome in. It's the Justin Kenner Show with Kev Nash, minus Kev Nash today, here on a Friday, heading into the weekend. Excited to cap off this week. A lot of questions in the world of sports that were kind of answered this week, so excited to be hanging out with everyone here today as we close out the week, head into the weekend. David Shaw, how are you? He says, good afternoon, fellas. Good call last night, Justin. Thank you. Shaw, I believe I met your brother last year, correct? Am I wrong in saying that he calls games at Fairmont as well? But nonetheless, Shaw, our relationship on the air, I'm supposed to yell at you, so we'll just leave it at that. But happy Friday. Excited to be hanging out with you. Yes, last night we kicked off the 2022 high school football season. The Alternites, the Fairmont Firebirds. The Fairmont Firebirds came into last night. And they had won 3 of the last 4. They've now won 4 of their last 5 as they took care of business. Again, Alter, super talented, just super young. They'll be fine in the near future, but that was a cool way to kick off the 2022 season last night. So, yeah, that was a lot of fun. Last night, again, next week we will be at Trotwood, Fairmont at Trotwood. Have a chance to see, of course, their star quarterback talking about the Rams. Pretty jacked about that. And then, of course, we got to really, just to see last night, Drew Baker. Again, he's that senior star running back for Fairmont. Again, you can't just say that, well, you can put anyone behind the line at Fairmont and they'll have that kind of success. Maybe so, but when you have a guy like him who can take a pounding the entire game, talking about Drew Baker, of course, for the Firebirds, just constant, just getting hit constantly. And, it's not even the fact that he's getting hit. He's doing a lot of the hitting. Very rarely, if at all, do I remember a time last night in the Alter Fairmont game where the second a defender got to him that it was a single defender taking him down. It was usually the second, third, and fourth guy that had to get to him before they brought him down. But he had about 1,500 plus yards last year, scored over 18 touchdowns. And of course, last night he was the focal point of the offense as well. So congratulations, Fairmont, the 1-0 start, and they get the night off tonight. So there's that, but excited to be here again, calling more high school football in the Miami Valley here on 1410 ESPN radio. A lot to get into today. What's interesting is, Steve Young, I never thought I would be, at the point where I don't think I've ever had a hot take that involves Steve Young. Have any of you ever once heard Steve Young say something and it just trigger you and it just anger you? No, because he's not that kind of guy. But he got a reaction from me today. He's gotten a reaction from a lot of people out there on social media because he was just very adamant that Lamar Jackson is being treated poorly in Baltimore and that Lamar Jackson is being, that the Baltimore Ravens, one of the best organizations in all of football, they're holding him back. They're stunning his growth, he says. You don't believe me? Take a listen. This is what really got people's attention. Again, Steve Young just laying in on the Baltimore Ravens as far as how they have treated Lamar Jackson. Take a listen.
My position is they will never get to championship football without a sophisticated passing game. That's not anything to do with Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson is a complete player that is being not trained in being a sophisticated passer.
Not trained in being a sophisticated passer. I don't understand what that means, that he's not been trained. My biggest gripe here is the fact that we can continue to move the goalposts as far as how we want to give credit or take credit away from quarterbacks. How many times have we heard, especially just with this recent situation with Cleveland, talking about Jimmy Garoppolo a lot? And by the way, my goal is to not talk hardly any Browns at all today. I promise you, I'm over this Deshaun Watson thing. I'm glad that suspension came down yesterday. We now know how many games. We now know what the situation is. We just move on and whatever. But I'm bringing it up slightly because it ties in with what I wanted to open up the show with today. Again, you have Steve Young who's defending Lamar Jackson, saying that he hasn't been taught how to play quarterback. He hasn't been taught how to pass the football. What? How many times have we moved the goalposts with other quarterbacks? And by the way, Lamar Jackson is a top 5 quarterback of the National Football League. I'm not here to debate that. But this idea that the Ravens are holding him back is silly, saying that it's their job to teach him how to play the quarterback position. I thought that was silly. You know, when it comes to the fact that, you look at a guy like Jimmy Garoppolo, I was told yesterday that, that they didn't win because of Jimmy Garoppolo, that Jimmy Garoppolo, if you think that he's going to come to Cleveland and all of a sudden they start winning games because of him, that's a bad take. He's not why they won in San Francisco. Well, my counter to that was, well, how come when he was in San Francisco, he takes them to a Super Bowl? When he gets hurt, they're drafting at the top of the order. When he comes back, they beat Aaron Rodgers, and they're a game again away from getting back to the Super Bowl. I do think that although he is not the offense, that offense runs because of him, if that makes sense. That was the expectation for Baker Mayfield when he was in Cleveland. Baker is not the main point of the offense, or was never supposed to be. However, he was supposed to make sure he didn't get in the way, and he got in the way a lot of interceptions, a lot of overthrows, and just not seeing open receivers, that type of thing. But with Lamar, but how come we didn't, for all the deficiencies that Jimmy Garoppolo has, how come Steve Young and how come other analysts have not come out and said, well, it's that damn Niners, foundation. It's them. They haven't taught him how to play. They haven't taught him how to throw. Imagine if they would have taught him how to throw, he would have connected with Sanders in the Super Bowl and they would have beat Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. How come nobody says that? How come in Cleveland, when Baker was very, very bad for the Browns last season, how come nobody said, well, it's not Baker. Baker is a Heisman winning quarterback. Baker's the number 1 overall pick. Baker knows how to throw the football. Baker is really good. It's the Cleveland Browns. They haven't taught him how to play football. No one's done that. Nobody said that. In fact, it's because of Baker's ability to pass in college at such a high level. It's because of what he, because of his accuracy. It's because of all the expectations of who Baker was in college that's why people were so sour on him right off the bat, because all the things that made Baker went away. No one said, oh man, it was Kevin Stefanski should have taught him better. No. So why are we doing this with Lamar Jackson? Why are we saying that Harbaugh, who's won a Super Bowl with Joe Flacco, how are we sitting here actually saying that, oh man, he just hasn't taught him how to play the quarterback position? I do think organizations can get in the way of players being able to utilize their strengths, but we're talking about an organization that literally drafted Lamar when nobody else would. They built the whole offense around Lamar when nobody else would. While everyone else was saying he should be a wide receiver, the Ravens said, you know what? We're going to draft him. We're going to make him our quarterback. We're going to draft around him. We're going to give him weapons. Now, again, I know what you're saying. What weapons? What weapons? Since 2019, and just so you know, I'm not like I'm not like a research major here. Yes, I am taking this from another show, but it did catch my attention. Colin Cowherd earlier this afternoon stated it, and I could not agree with it more. To sit there and say that they have not provided him weapons is kind of silly. Does he have elite offense? Does he have elite wide receivers like Joe Burrow does in Cincinnati? No. But they have made sure that all they have done since drafting him in the first and second rounds every year since drafting him, it has been all offense. It has been all offensive linemen, running backs, wide receivers. Have they popped? Has Bateman turned into a all-pro wide receiver? No. J.K. Dobbins showed significant promise before getting injured in the preseason last year, so that stinks. They drafted Linderbaum. They added offense. They went offensive line. They have made sure that they've done everything they could in the draft to draft around him. They changed the offense. Obviously, it's a run-first offense in Baltimore, but that's because that's what they've always had, because they've always had Joe Flacco. You know what I mean? Like, they haven't had an elite throwing quarterback. And then you get Lamar Jackson, who is not an elite throwing quarterback, who is the best running back or the best running quarterback, arguably in the history of the NFL. So they built the offense around what he does best. But that's the organization that's holding him back. Take a listen, because Steve Young continued to weigh in and just tear down the Baltimore Ravens. This is what, just take a listen, and we'll talk about this here in about 30 seconds.
They doubled down again back to all the great things that Lamar does. Great. But until he gets the chance to show that he is a sophisticated passer of the football in a sophisticated passing game that is properly, invested in, which they never have done, to Robert's point just a minute ago. They don't invest in it. They don't teach it. And now you ask them, why isn't he getting paid to be Patrick Mahomes? Because they haven't given him a chance to be Patrick Mahomes.
He's not Patrick Mahomes. Can we shut up with that? He's not Patrick Mahomes. I mean, everyone is acting. These Lamar apologists are doing this whole thing that, oh man, he's being held back, that if he was just coached, or if an organization just gave him anything, that he would be. This is the organization that drafted him when no one else would. They drafted him to be a quarterback when everyone else wanted him to be a wide receiver. They revamped the whole offense around his skill set since when they drafted him. For the last 3 years, every pick in the first and second rounds have been offensive players, whether it's offensive linemen, running backs, or wide receivers. Tell me more how this organization has not done everything in their power to put pieces around him, whether it be to protect him so that he could run, and obviously be more of an at-risk quarterback because of the fact that he puts his body on the line. It provided him more running back so that when he does start to wear down a bit, maybe not wear down as far as like career, but maybe, get late in the season and they don't want his body to continue taking and pounding. Okay, we're going to provide you with J.K. Dobbins. We're going to provide you with other top running backs so that you have, other guys that could take the pounding as well. Oh yeah, you have one of the best, if not the best tight end in all of football right now in Andrews that they drafted for you. Stop with this whole idea that the scheme is holding him back. One more piece from Steve Young on Lamar Jackson being held back with the Baltimore Ravens.
So until they do, Lamar Jackson's damned because of what the Ravens are doing, not because of Lamar Jackson. I can't wait for someone to train Lamar Jackson to the sophisticated passing game. I think he'd be the greatest player in the history of the game. Yeah. But he's being held back by the Ravens year after year because they keep doubling down to this thing that Lamar Jackson is great at. No question. He's the best at that. But it's not the championship football that they need to play, and it's not where Lamar Jackson wants to be. I want the full measure, Robert, of who Lamar Jackson is. And the full measure is not being brought forward by the Ravens. And if that's not the case, then get out and find someone who will.
So you think if you took Lamar Jackson and you took him over to Andy Reid, if Andy Reid was his head coach, let's say that Lamar Jackson is the starting quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs, and Andy Reid called the exact same plays, had the exact same offense for Lamar Jackson that he runs for Patrick Mahomes. Would Lamar Jackson be Patrick Mahomes? No, he would not. What would Andy Reid do? He would adjust the play calling. He would adjust the offense. He would have a scheme that would fit Lamar's strengths to, again, maximize who he is. And by the way, that's what the Ravens have done. You don't win an MVP by your team holding you back. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And, Steve Young brings up a good point. The Ravens are never going to reach the championship level that they are expected to because of the style of play in which they play. And that's the whole reason probably why the Baltimore Ravens are dragging their feet and wanting to pay Lamar to begin with, because they are saying everything that you are, that he is elite, that he is super talented, but his deficiencies as a passer are why the scheme that is in place is in place. Let's reverse it the other way. If Patrick Mahomes was with the Baltimore Ravens, if the Ravens and the Chiefs traded quarterbacks and Patrick Mahomes came to Baltimore, do you think that staff, that Harbaugh staff, would call the same plays and have the same scheme in place? No. You know what they would do? They would take advantage of Patrick Mahomes' strengths, which is his arm. He could throw the football. Sure, he's versatile. Sure, he can make plays with his legs, but he's known for what he could do with his arm, because that's kind of what teams like from their quarterback. I don't know, to be able to throw at an elite level. The Baltimore Ravens are dragging their feet on paying him max dollars because at the end of the day, they know what Steve Young just said is accurate in regards to the Ravens will never reach championship levels with the style of play. And he's saying it's because they're investing into the wrong thing. They're investing into the run game instead of opening up the pass game. Don't you think they would love to open up the pass game? Don't you think last year the Browns would have loved to open up the pass game? Don't you think that, when Sam Darnold, don't you think that they would have loved for him, the Jets would have loved for him to open up the pass game? Don't you think that Jimmy Garoppolo with the 49ers, that they would have loved to open up the pass game so that they didn't have to take their top wide receiver in Debo and turn him into a running back? Don't you just wish that the Niners would have taught Jimmy Garoppolo, that the Browns would have taught Baker Mayfield, that the Jets would have taught Sam Darnold? How come those guys are bums? How come those guys aren't the reason for the team's success? But how come when Lamar Jackson can't throw the football at an elite level, it's because they're holding him back? The team that drafted him when no one else would. They drafted him at quarterback when no one else would. They've done nothing but draft in the first and second round offensive pieces. The whole reason that, by the way, Aaron Rodgers is mad at the Green Bay Packers because the only offensive player that they ever drafted in the first round since he became the starting quarterback with the Green Bay Packers was his potential replacement in Jordan Love. So you have one quarterback who's saying, you don't even provide me with weapons in the draft. When's the last time you even provided me an offensive weapon in the first round? That's all the Baltimore Ravens have done since drafting Lamar Jackson. Offensive linemen, wide receivers, running backs. He's won an MVP. They're competing for the division every year. They were in first place. They would have won the AFC North last year, even without the run game. How are they holding him back? Now you're saying, exactly, because they're winning those games because of Lamar Jackson. They're winning because of what he does well, but what he does well is not necessarily going to guarantee you that you get to the Super Bowl. Can you sustain that success when it's, when you get deep into the postseason? There's a reason that works in the regular season and it's not working in the postseason. It's not even an opinion. You're watching it. But now what the media has done is they've put this protective shield around Lamar Jackson. So if the Ravens say, you know what, we're not going to give you the money that Deshaun Watson got in Cleveland, well, now the Ravens are the bad guy, and it's not because Lamar has deficiencies within his game. Oh no. That's the problem that I have with all of this. This is why I'm getting annoyed when it comes to the Lamar Jackson coverage, because and by the way, let's talk about that contract that Deshaun Watson got with the Cleveland Browns. Deshaun Watson got that fully guaranteed contract, and people were furious, right? Owners were furious. Now, you could say it's because how can you give a guy with 24 sexual assault allegations guaranteed money? But let's be clear. The people would have been pissed no matter if the Browns had given it to Deshaun or another star quarterback. Yes, that enhanced it, the stuff that he's involved in off the field. But the owners were furious at Cleveland because now that's the precedent, right? What? It's a bad contract. But now media members, after telling you that the Browns were stupid for giving Deshaun Watson all that guaranteed money because now all the owners are going to have to do that moving forward. It's bad when the Browns do it, but the Ravens are expected to do it because it's Lamar Jackson. My goodness. In today's day and age where media does nothing but find reasons to discredit quarterbacks, I am amazed at how much excuse making is going on for Lamar Jackson. And don't sit here and say the Ravens are a very good organization. They have they've done more with less than most organizations out there. They draft well. They coach players up well. They win consistently. They never rebuild. Hell, the year that Lamar Jackson came in and took him to the playoffs, that was supposed to be Harbaugh's last year. They were supposed to reset. I mean, they were going to bring in a new coach. It was just going to be a complete rebuild from the top. And then Lamar comes in. They win 6 of the last 7. They make the playoffs, and they haven't looked back since. He's won the MVP since then. I'm tired of this Lamar Jackson storyline playing out. He's most likely going to get paid because the Ravens will be guilted into paying him, because how could they not pay their star quarterback? That's ridiculous. They want to pay him, and they're not against paying him market value. I do believe it's the fully guaranteed money that they're sitting there kind of dragging their feet on, mainly because the fact that, okay, yes, what he does really, really well is why they win games, but what he does really, really well puts him at such a high risk to get injured. And it's not like they can adjust the play calling to allow him to make more plays with his arms, because he's not a very good passing quarterback. He's okay. He's solid. But if you want an okay, solid passing quarterback, maybe, just maybe, Jimmy Garoppolo should not go to the Cleveland Browns. Jimmy Garoppolo should not go to the Jets, to the Dolphins, to the Giants. Jimmy Garoppolo shouldn't go to the Seahawks. Maybe he should go to the Baltimore Ravens. If you want a cheap quarterback, okay, if you want a quarterback that you don't have to pay a lot of money to not throw the ball at an elite level, but throw the ball just well enough for you to win, go pay Jimmy Garoppolo. Oh, but Jimmy Garoppolo, he doesn't run the football. Well, that's why you have J.K. Dobbins. That's why you have. By the way, I'm not advocating for the Ravens to pick Garoppolo over Lamar Jackson, but the bottom line is this is why the Ravens are so conflicted, because they know that Lamar Jackson is an elite quarterback. They know that, but his deficiencies and his strengths also make him a liability. It's not that hard to figure out. But I was nauseated today. And by the way, I'm not saying that, when it came to Baker Mayfield, when Baker Mayfield struggled offensively, it wasn't because the Browns didn't teach him how to quarterback. When Jimmy Garoppolo can't get it done, it's, oh man, the Niners, they're winning in spite of him. How come if Garoppolo is such an average quarterback, if there's all these average quarterbacks out there too, maybe is it just because they need taught? No, they should just be taught how to play. They should just be taught how to be a quarterback. Yes, they need, obviously, quarterback coaches, and there's always things that they could work on. But this idea that the Ravens have just basically been sending Lamar over with the punt team just to sit down and do nothing during practice while they train the running backs, while they train the offensive line, while they train the defense is the stupidest thing I've ever heard of in my life. Aye. Kev's not here, so I get to be a little bit more animated today. All right, I'll open up the phone lines. 518-1410, 518-1410. Am I wrong when it comes to Lamar Jackson? This idea that the scheme is what is holding him back is ridiculous. All right, and I wish Kev was here because I'm in the mood to argue. I'll argue with Kev on Monday. When Kev comes back, I'm going to argue with him because I've heard Kev say before that the scheme is the problem. I don't believe the scheme is the problem because if Patrick Mahomes was the starting quarterback for the Baltimore Ravens, you know what the Baltimore Ravens would do? They would change the scheme to fit the arm of a passing quarterback, and that is not Lamar Jackson. That's not Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson's capable of throwing the football, as is Jimmy Garoppolo, as is Baker Mayfield, as is Tua Tagovailoa. But you know what? If Carolina now with Baker Mayfield, if they start running Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs offense, that'd be kind of silly because that's not Patrick Mahomes. That's not Baker's strengths. You can give him a little more freedom than what the Browns possibly did, but with that, you increase the risk of him turning it over. And let's not forget, Lamar Jackson also had a 4-interception game last year. When Baker did it, everyone lost their freaking mind. Lamar did it. Well, everyone has an off day at the office. Okay, because 4 interception days are just real common. We'll be right back. 518-1410.
Hi, I'm Flo from Progressive. Being a baseball fanatic like me can be stressful. It's not all sports points and touchdowns. So Progressive is going to help you take your mind off your team for a moment. Instead of thinking about how they missed that goal point score, think about the Name Your Price tool from Progressive, letting you choose coverage options based on your budget, unlike your team that missed the end zone net area. Well, anyway, hope this distraction about Progressive's Name Your Price tool was helpful. It sure kept me from thinking about all those penalty balls. Yay, sports!
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
They should be 8x7. When it comes to closets, Janina's home organization business runs tip-top tidy.
Is the schedule right? I'm gonna need help.
But she needs to reorganize and find a new assistant.
I know it's your last week, but can you make sure the Hanson pantry's wrapped?
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. We instantly connect you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Yo, Pablo Torre here, host of the ESPN Daily Podcast. When you want to go beyond your feed, when you want to get inside the score, when you want to get behind the highlight, there's ESPN Daily. Go deeper into the stories of the moment. Get the exclusive access and insider perspective that only ESPN can give you. ESPN Daily, hosted by me, Pablo Torre. Listen and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. Thinking about gas mileage? If your check engine light is on, it may be affecting your MPGs, but the free AutoZone Fix Finder service can help. With the most complete free warning light report backed by technician-verified fixes, you'll know what's affecting your gas mileage and more.
The snap, the hold, the kick, it is blocked. The kick is blocked. The ball is live, and the ball is loose, and Fairmont comes away with it. Running up the far right sideline, the crowd is absolutely going crazy here, and that's going to be our first score of the night. Not the Alternites, but the Fairmont Firebirds strike first.
The Miami Valley's biggest games. It's the ESPN Dayton High School Football Game of the Week. Don't miss the excitement every Friday night, right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Welcome back. Justin Kinner with you here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. Kev Nash will be back this coming up Monday, so you're stuck with just me today. And look at that. Look at the numbers plummeting on the show as you're stuck with just old Kinner today. Opened up the show again, talking a little bit about Steve Young kind of going off. And by the way, and that's the thing about doing a show like this. Like I think the highest level of football I ever played was like 7th grade. Like I've never played football at a level that I could sit here and tell a guy like Steve Young, you don't know what you're talking about. But I do think that sometimes in this situation, I don't think that because he's an all-time great that all of a sudden that just makes what he says gospel, because there's a lot of flaws in everything that he is saying. I mean, I have never heard that when a player has deficiencies, that it's because the team hasn't taught him how to do that. And if you are acknowledging that the team hasn't taught him how to do that, you are basically acknowledging that it's okay for the team to be reluctant to want to pay him like the other quarterbacks that could do that. But Justin, he does things that no other quarterbacks do. I get that, and so does the front office. That's why he's even in position to be to be negotiating for a contract of the likes of Deshaun Watson. Now, that name I know is a very polarizing name. You hear the name Deshaun Watson, and right away you want to start screaming about all the stuff that he's been involved in off the field. I'm not here to have that argument with you, because there's no argument. You're right. He's a bum. He's a scuzzball. Like, what else do you want me to say? Like, but from a quarterback perspective, Deshaun Watson was paid in spite of everything. Like, the Browns made a mistake paying Deshaun Watson that much money, fully guaranteed, with everything he has working against him. But the Browns knew. The Browns acknowledged that they're not a good organization. The Browns told you they're not a good organization because they said, "Hey, we are desperate to get Deshaun Watson, the quarterback." Because right now, if we go get a Dak Prescott quarterback that's just a good person and just an okay quarterback, guess what? The Browns is the Browns. So now they're saying we got to mix it up. You know what? We're not like getting him because of all the stuff he's involved in off the field. They're saying you have to get it right. You have to get it right. The owners lose sleep at night over these decisions. General managers lose sleep at night over these decisions. An organization in the National Football League was so desperate to get the one position right that they know they can't win without, that they were willing to overlook the 24 sexual assault allegations. The Baltimore Ravens have a quarterback, and I'm not comparing these two, by the way. That's not what I'm doing. I'm just trying to show you the lengths that organizations go to make sure that they get it right. They have one of the winningest quarterbacks in the NFL right now. All right, right now, Lamar Jackson literally wills them to wins that they have no business winning. The problem is that's always usually done in the regular season earlier in the year, when the moment counts the most, and when you're usually playing the best defensive teams come playoff time, he kind of gets taken out. So the organization is like, we know all the great things he does. We know. We're not telling you that he's not great. What we are losing sleep over is the fact that it's this 1, 2, 3 things that we are really hesitant to give him fully guaranteed money, because at the end of the day, the reason we haven't been able to get to where we want to go right now is because of those deficiencies. We've built this whole offense around what he does right, but what he doesn't do is what is going to hold us back at the end of the day. There's a reason that, Baker Mayfield, he led the Browns to the playoffs for the first time in decades. They won a playoff game for the first time in nearly, 20, 30 years or whatever it was. I mean, it was just ridiculous. Well, doesn't winning matters? Were the Browns wrong for moving on from Baker Mayfield? No, because they looked at a guy and they said, we could win with Baker. We could win 9, 10, 11 games a year with Baker Mayfield. We can, be in the hunt for a division here and there. We'll make the wild card. We'll make things interesting. But eventually, we're not aspiring to be interesting. We're not aspiring to be a wild card team. We're aspiring to be a Super Bowl team, and that's what the Ravens are saying. We're not aspiring to have an MVP quarterback that gets ousted in the first round every year. We're aspiring to win a Super Bowl. And the Ravens have every right to question whether or not they can win a Super Bowl with Lamar Jackson. He has done everything right and they still question if whether or not his skill set can lead them to a Super Bowl. Deshaun Watson has done everything wrong, but the Browns believe his skill set can lead them to a Super Bowl. So we need to stop with this stupid, well, if Deshaun Watson deserves fully guaranteed money, then so does Lamar. Stop it with that. Stop it. Let's be clear. Let's use Joe Burrow as an example. Since Joe Burrow arrived in Cincinnati and showed Mike Brown that, oh yeah, he could kind of play the quarterback position at a decent level, look at everything that's changed. I mean, the naming rights was taken care of so that Joe Burrow can get paid, right? That's not a shot. Like, people think that that's a shot at the Bengals. It's called good business, something that Mike Brown hasn't been credited with that often throughout his tenure, right? But that was good. That was a smart decision. People make fun of it, all that stuff. That was a good business decision to do what he did so that they can, again, that's not like the money they get for naming the stadium is directly going to Joe Burrow. But again, there's back end ways that they invest that money to put them in position to pay Burrow. Bottom line is, the second that the Cincinnati Bengals saw what Burrow is capable of, they're not questioning his deficiencies. They're not. They second they knew that they had something special, they started the domino effect of getting their affairs in order to make sure he's taken care of. The second that Patrick Mahomes didn't need to get paid when he did, but damn it, he won an MVP and he won a Super Bowl. The Chiefs wasted no time in paying him. They didn't have to pay him when they did. They could have drug it out like the Ravens are doing, but once they knew what they had, they paid him. Once the Bengals knew what they had, they already have put themselves in position so that at the end of this upcoming season, they're going to be like, here's your check. Name your price. That's exactly what's going to happen. Because when you know that you have your guy, it's an easy decision. It's not a hard. Mike Brown is not losing. In fact, if anything, Mike Brown lost so much sleep during the Andy Dalton run, right? He's not losing sleep right now. He's sleeping comfortably. He's sleeping. Mike Brown is sleeping like a baby right now because he knows he has his quarterback. The Ravens owners, they're sleeping with one eye open. They're getting some sleep, but they're kind of waking up in the middle of the night like, man, I know we have our quarterback, but I know that I don't know if I can invest into that and know that for sure we're going to win a Super Bowl. I'm just saying, it's not that hard to figure out. There's too many excuses being made for Lamar Jackson, and this is the most ridiculous one of them all, is that it's the scheme that's holding him back. It's the same scheme that led him to win an MVP. All right? Give me a break. When's the last time someone won an MVP in a bad scheme? I'll wait. Doesn't happen. All right. To the Facebook reaction we go. Let me go to the top here to make sure we're getting everyone's reaction. David Shaw says, shouldn't he have been taught before he got to Baltimore? I get that the Ravens need to teach him the NFL way, but isn't that what Pee Wee high school and college was for? I don't get what Steve Young is trying to say here. To a certain extent, yes, Shaw. Look, the bottom line is no one comes into the NFL a finished product. I mean, Ohio State, they have some of the best offensive coaches in the country. And you would think that Justin Fields would be a picture perfect NFL quarterback, that there is nothing else he could learn at the quarterback position because he played for Ryan Day and he played for that offensive scheme, right? But look what happens when they go to the NFL. There's still a learning curve there, but Justin Fields looks like there's a learning curve that needs to be had, right? Not Lamar. Lamar's gotten better every year. He was even his passing numbers were not terrible last year, considering the fact that he had no help at wide receiver. But at the same time, there's still that elite element that we're talking about when it comes to Lamar being able to pass the football. Is he elite? He's not an elite passer. He's just not. It's not an opinion. It's not a hot take. It's just common sense. And that's a very important factor to have when you are paying your quarterback. Can he throw at an elite level? Baker Mayfield, everyone kept saying, well, he could throw the football. He could win football games. He can win in the playoffs, but he's not an elite thrower. Well, that made it easy. There's no way the Browns are going to pay him $40 million plus a year, and they shouldn't have. I agree. They shouldn't have. I was not for the Browns paying Baker $40, $50 million a year. And Lamar, well, he runs a lot. Pay your running backs or draft running backs every 4 years and just keep that cycle going. I'm not saying to not pay Lamar, but I understand why they're not sprinting to the finish line to get that done. Damon Hahn, he says, I thought the whole soundbite of Steve Young was ridiculous. David M on YouTube says, as a 49ers fan, I'll always love Steve Young, but I disagree with him as well. I think if Lamar showed more capability to run a more pass-friendly scheme in practice, they do so. Exactly. Do you think that coaches, when your only shot at job security is competing for a Super Bowl, do you really think that if they felt Lamar could pass to the level of Patrick Mahomes, that they would continue just forcing him to run? If anything, folks, they would do anything for him to pass like Patrick Mahomes, because then they wouldn't have to have him run the football as much. Oh, he can make plays with his legs. Well, if you can make plays with your arms, you don't have to make plays with your legs. You're making plays with your legs. That's a second and third option that, man, some quarterbacks don't have and Lamar, Joe Burrow is a sneaky athletic quarterback. Joe Burrow can make plays with his legs, but you know what happens every time Joe Burrow starts to make plays with his legs? What do you all Bengal fans do? You tense up. What does Kevin say? Y'all get lemon booty. You get lemon booty. The second that Joe Burrow tucks that ball and takes off, you guys all just wince right away, right? How do you think Ravens fans feel? Oh, but he's really good at it. It doesn't matter. I don't care if Joe Burrow is the second best running quarterback in the NFL. As a Bengals fan, I wouldn't want him to run. Pick up the yards you need to. If there's something there, you'll make a diving play to pick up a first down. There's no need. I don't care how exciting or flashy it is. It's not necessary. It's not necessary. Especially when there are really good running backs that could pick up those same yards for you. I don't understand this infatuation with he could run the football. Super. You shouldn't want your quarterback to run the football. And what I mean by that is if your quarterback is capable of picking up a couple yards with his legs, more power to him. But to sit there in the NFL when that's the number one position that you invest the most money into, to sit there and say that you need him to do that is ridiculous. And owners don't want that, and GMs don't want that, and fans don't want that. I would not want, like Deshaun Watson is a quarterback that can make plays with his legs. And that helps the Browns. That's going to make their offense more versatile. But there's not going to be many times where Stefanski's like, all right, forget our wide receivers. Just tuck the ball and run. Tuck the ball and run. No. So if you want to criticize the Ravens, I'm going to criticize the Ravens for leaning into a scheme that makes what could potentially be the highest paid quarterback in the NFL so vulnerable. I don't care if he does it well. It takes one hit. Quarterbacks get hit who don't run the football, but they're doing everything that they can to prevent it from happening. And here the Ravens are, go run. And they don't want him to run, but they have no choice because that's what he does best. If he passed the ball better than he ran the ball, they would much rather be calling passing plays for him. Like I said, if Lamar Jackson had Patrick Mahomes' arm, let me ask you this, would they still call the same plays for Lamar? No. They would prefer that he could pass the ball at an elite level so that they could protect him. It's as simple as that. This is silly. Good organizations, according to Damon Hahn, good organizations are able to use strengths of their personnel, and that's what the Ravens are doing. They're a good organization. They've maximized Lamar Jackson. They put him in a position. They've made him an MVP. In fact, they're almost a victim of their own success. They're a victim of their own success because they built an offense around him to help him win an MVP. They're realizing this offense isn't probably the most, worthy of guaranteeing that you're going to go win a Super Bowl. Because we're watching the offenses. I mean, look at the two teams in the Super Bowl last year. Elite passing quarterbacks, elite passing offenses. Well, then the Ravens need an elite passing offense. They need an elite passer. It's that simple. Marquise Brown left, and Marquise Brown left the Ravens. What did everyone say? Oh, he didn't leave Lamar. He left the offense. Well, when OBJ left Baker Mayfield, no one said that he left the offense. They said he left Baker Mayfield. And you know what? He did. He left Baker Mayfield. I don't deny that. But I also think Marquise Brown left Lamar Jackson. Well, if they ran a different if he was a better passing quarterback, they would run a different offense. I could do this all day. John Harvey says, I agree. Excuses galore for the media. Lamar is not what everyone makes him out to be. He's a poor man's Michael Vick, a very poor man's Michael Vick. Lamar is a very, very good quarterback. I'm not trying to convince you otherwise. I'm just saying is you can have a very, very good player and still feel like they're not going to be the guy that takes you to the championship. And Russell Westbrook is not very good in the NBA right now, but that was Russell Westbrook for the longest time in the NBA. He was averaging a triple-double. I've always said Lamar Jackson is the Russell Westbrook of the NFL because Russell Westbrook averaged a triple-double, not one, not two, but 3 straight seasons, and we hadn't seen since Oscar Robertson in decades and decades. We hadn't seen in decades since Oscar Robertson a player averaged a triple-double. We had a guy that just did it 3 straight seasons, and he won an MVP because he averaged a triple-double. Well, he averaged a triple-double the next couple of seasons, never won an MVP after that. Why? Because it was new. It was something we hadn't seen in quite some time, and he was electrifying, but then all of a sudden you started realizing, Well, yeah, you're getting triple doubles, but it's not leading to anything. Oh, Lamar, wow, you're throwing for close to 4,000 yards and rushing for 1,000. That's super, but we're not doing anything. So that's Russell. That's Lamar Jackson. He's Russell Westbrook. He's worth the price of admission. I will pay to watch him play the quarterback position. I would have, not Russell Westbrook's not in his prime, but I would have paid to watch him in the NBA because he does things that nobody else did. Lamar does things that nobody else does. But at the end of the day, it all comes down to, a Russell Wilson. A Russell Wilson is boring as all get out. But if he goes to Denver and he checks off every box and they're getting back to the Super Bowl, I'll take the boring, winning Russell Wilson over the electrifying, never been seen before Lamar Jackson. Just saying. It is what it is. Damon Hahn says, I would say he is better than Vic. Maybe the scheme, maybe him, but results matter. I agree. Jeff McPherson on Facebook says, Lamar will be done in 4 years. He can't throw and the injuries will come. Injuries are part of the game, that's for sure. You can't prevent injuries, but you could do your best to put as many variables out there to hopefully, prevent them as much as possible. It's like a seatbelt. Seatbelt's not going to prevent you from dying in a car crash, but I would feel much better if I had a seatbelt on in a car than a car without one. Don't worry, this isn't vaccine talk, I promise. We'll be back in a moment.
The Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. Presented by Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty. Weekdays at 3 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Straight Talk Wireless knows there are plenty of reasons you might need a new
your car. You kill someone. The results of driving drunk are tragic. That's why law enforcement is out there looking for impaired drivers to save lives. So if you think you're okay to drive after a few drinks, think again. Drive sober or get pulled over. Paid for by NHTSA.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free. Just go to this exclusive web address, ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Are you one of those people who thinks it's okay to drive stoned? I mean, what's the worst that can happen? You end up driving below the speed limit? It's no big deal, right? Wrong. The truth is, your reaction times slow way down when you're high. You not only put yourself in danger, but everyone around you. Talk about a buzzkill. Stop kidding yourself. It's not okay to drive high. If you've been using marijuana in any form, do not get behind the wheel. If you feel different, you drive different. Drive high, get a DUI. Paid for by NHTSA.
Welcome back to Ohio's newest game show, Beat the Stigma. Final question. Drug addiction is often the result of what? A, genetics, B, mental illness, C, traumatic experiences, or D, all of the above. Beth.
E, none of the above.
There's no E.
Ooh, changing my answer to because they don't know right from wrong.
That's a stigma, and that's what we're trying to beat. I'm sorry, you did not beat the stigma.
Ohio, challenge what you know about addiction at beatthestigma.org.
Contractors, use the right equipment for your project and rent from Arts Rental Equipment. No storage, no maintenance, no hassle. 15 Arts locations and online at artsrental.com. Work smart. Rent from Arts.
With Discover, you can redeem your rewards for cash in any amount at any time. Learn more at discover.com/redeem rewards. Terms apply.
Justin Kinner back with you here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. All right, so this just came out a little bit ago. I remember a while back, I thought I had read that Urban Meyer was returning to the Big Noon Kickoff pregame show with Fox. And I guess they just made it official today. This just came out a little bit ago. Again, Stuart Mandel on Twitter says Fox officially announces the worst kept secret in sports TV. Urban Meyer is back. The Big Noon Kickoff returns with its original cast, again with Rob Stone, Brady Quinn, Reggie Bush, Matt Leinart, and now Urban Meyer. Together again on the road this fall for the first time ever, Big Noon Kickoff travels each week of the season, previewing the day's best matchups from campuses across the nation. A brand new promo featuring the cast of Big Noon Kickoff and the Big Noon Saturday Game Crew debuts tomorrow during Fox's Baseball Night in America. So Urban Meyer does return to the pregame show, the Big Noon Kickoff. And look, that's where he should have never left to begin with. I mean, ratings were through the roof. I mean, and again, it's not as if Urban has this like captivating personality as far as like any kind of charisma, but he does draw you in. It's not a secret as to why 2 years ago ratings were through the roof for the Big Noon Kickoff show with Urban Meyer, and maybe that's just all Buckeye fans tuning in. Maybe now the ratings will be even higher because of all the Jaguars fan that will tune in to watch all Herbs on the pregame show. But this is where he should be. This is where he belongs. That was just an absolute catastrophe. Urban Meyer is fascinating to me because he is a prime example of why every time things on social media blow up to this huge overreaction, I always never get caught up in the moment, because I know that getting caught up in the moment and getting angry at these folks and talking about who they are morally is just a waste of time. Because look at this. The Big Noon Kickoff, Fox, is bringing Urban Meyer back. But all the do-gooders out there, not even a year ago, were just appalled. How could this human being be around other human beings? The stink of Urban will rub off on everyone around him. And now you morons are all out there. Go Bucks! OH! Urban Meyer. Back on Big Noon Kick. Whatever. Whatever. And by the way, I'm not here advocating that you should still be outraged with them. I just thought it was stupid to let a guy that makes his own decisions that we don't know. I don't know Urban. You don't know Urban. And you guys sit there and you try to pretend like I'm just so disappointed in him. What? He kicked a kicker. So what? I don't know him. He made bad decisions. He's always made bad decisions, but he's always made enough good decisions that have trumped the bad decisions, and hence that's why he's back. And that's what cracks me up. So today, the newest controversy, if you will, Scott Frost was the Nebraska head coach, was talking about his new offensive line coach and how they've really put a point of emphasis on coaching up the offensive line. And he said that, that they're working so hard that he's counted on a daily about, 17 to 20 pukes per day. And he was trying to emphasize the fact that, show that, hey, this, he goes, they're not in shape because they're just working that hard. And I think we all understand. I mean, I would like to think that we as human beings are smart enough to understand that I don't think he actually means that there are 17 to 20 guys per day puking their brains out. Do you actually think that per day there's 17 to 20 of these kids just puking? I mean, my goodness, they wouldn't have time to practice. Like, we got to stop being so dramatic all the time. Like, I don't know Scott Frost. You don't know Scott Frost. But the outrage on social media is so uncomfortable. It's so embarrassing. And it's even from national media folks. Man, I tell you, I have some serious questions for Mr. Frost if this is true. This is just there have been players that have died from heat exhaustion. Yes, there has. There has. And this doesn't mean that everyone is being, not sympathetic towards that. But at the end of the day, this is a situation that if, for one, you actually believe that this is true, shame on you. You probably go to the strip club and think that they actually like you, okay? I don't believe that this is true at all. I think this was done tongue-in-cheek. This was done to kind of get people to understand just how hard we're working. I mean, we're puking our guts out. That's how much we're running. I mean, you are the same people that if I'm watching a game and I hear a broadcaster say, oh, man, look at Chase Young. He's coming off the edge. He's killing him off the edge. Oh, my God, Chase Young's killing people. We need to have a serious conversation. Oh, man, we just can't have guys out there killing people. This isn't the Florida football program. But, like, seriously. Like, we got to stop. And, and I'm risking a lot here because let's say that this is true and this is the next big college athletic scandal of coaches literally putting their players' lives at risk. Then I'll accept being insensitive sounding right now, but I don't even think this is actually insensitive. We are literally getting so emotionally caught up in things that don't impact us. And you being emotionally invested into it, trying to sound like a do-gooder, you're not changing the world. You're not making people around you all of a sudden view the world differently. You're just probably getting laughed at. Anyone who read this quote and got upset, I feel bad for you. I feel bad for you. It doesn't impact you. He's literally trying to get everyone excited about the fact that, and by the way, Scott Frost, I mean, his seat's already warm. He doesn't need your help heating up that seat. It's win or go home after this year. Technically, he's already home. It's win or stay home and don't come back to the stadium. He doesn't need your help getting that seat any warmer than what it already is. Like, he's trying to sell the fan base. He's trying to sell everyone that, man, look how hard we're working, because the O-line has been a disaster for Nebraska as well as many other position groups, but especially that. He's trying to get people to buy into the excitement of, hey, man, we've kicked it up a notch. We're really working hard this year. I mean, guys are puking everywhere. That's how much we're conditioning. And you got the do-gooders out there with their flags, waving their flags like, oh, we got to cancel this guy. We got to get him out of there. You guys are unbelievable. You guys are exhausting. You make life unfun. Now, again, I know my luck. This will probably be something actually serious, and then I'll have to come on and say, okay, my bad. Maybe I was a little insensitive, but it is what it is. Okay. Coming up, speaking of the Buckeyes, at the top of the hour here, 5 minutes from now, we'll have our Buckeye camp update. And we'll hear from Paul Keels, and we're going to hear an update from Buckeye camp with the linebackers. Again, we're talking about, the offensive line for Nebraska. The one position that really needs a kick in the pants for Ohio State is the linebacker position. We know how deep the Buckeyes are at defensive line. I mean, they could have up to 12 guys who could just be rotating in and out all season. But what about that next level of the defense? Where are we at with the linebackers? Paul Keels gives us an update from Buckeye camp. That's coming up next, top of the 4 o'clock hour. Don't go anywhere.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash.
Justin, you're awesome, baby.
Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
O'Reilly.
Protect your vehicle's engine with Syntec and O'Reilly Auto Parts. Syntec Premium Full Synthetic Motor Oil is formulated for today's engines to dissipate heat and reduce friction and wear. Right now, get 5 quarts of Syntec Full Synthetic and a MicroGuard Select Oil Filter for just $33.99. Try Syntec today, exclusively at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
I want to take more chances with the embroidering.
Henley's vision for a new clothing line is coming into focus.
Dramatic.
They'll need an on-staff photographer to put their collection in the spotlight.
Why is no one taking shots of these?
Indeed can help them hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. You can schedule and conduct virtual interviews all from your employer dashboard. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Hi, I'm Flo from Progressive. Being a baseball fanatic like me can be stressful. It's not all sports points and touchdowns. So Progressive is going to help you take your mind off your team for a moment. Instead of thinking about how they missed that goal point score, think about the Name Your Price tool from Progressive, letting you choose coverage options based on your budget, unlike your team that missed the end zone net area. Well, anyway, hope this distraction about Progressive's Name Your Price tool was helpful. It sure kept me from thinking about all those penalty balls. Yay, sports!
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
This should be 8x7.
When it comes to closets, Janina's home organization business runs tip-top tidy.
Is the schedule right? I'm going to need help.
But she needs to reorganize and find a new assistant.
I know it's your last week, but can you make sure the Hansen pantry's wrapped?
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. We instantly connect you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Thank you for calling. How can we help your lawn or garden today?
Yes, I wanted to see about obtaining some mulch.
Yes. Much of what, sir?
No, mulch.
Much?
Mulch.
Much?
Mulch. I just bought new trees for our office space's property.
Let me put you in touch with our mulch expert. Hold, please.
Let's face it, big box stores are not experts. Mad River Mulch and Topsoil is the area's leader for mulch, processed topsoil, garden mix, decorative gravel, and animal bedding. At I-70 and Route 4 in Springfield, and at madrivermulch.com.
Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken is excited to announce their new delicious spicy bourbon chicken sandwich is here. It's the best of both worlds. They're spicy bourbon dippers that you love, brought into a sandwich you'll crave. It's made with their famous spicy chicken sandwich, smothered in their special bourbon barbecue sauce, dripping with flavor on a brioche bun. Enjoy it in a combo with your favorite side and a drink, priced just right at only $6.99, and only available at Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken Miami Valley locations. Lee's, famous for spicy bourbon chicken.
With Discover, you can redeem your rewards for cash in any amount at any time. Learn more at discover.com/redeem rewards. Terms apply.
You want more local content from Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM? Make sure you subscribe to the WING 1410 Dayton YouTube channel, where you can watch all your local shows live, or go back and rewatch previous episodes of The Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, The Keith Byers Show, Talking Out Loud with Sully, and more. College football playoffs, Browns, Bengals, Buckeyes, and more. Catch the Keith Byers Show Mondays at noon on 1410 ESPN Radio. WING 1410 Dayton. Dayton's ESPN Radio.
Ohio State football. Training camp report.
This report brought to you statewide by Safe Light Auto Glass and by Encova Insurance. The curiosity will be at a high level about how Ohio State's linebackers move into 2022. Steel Chambers says working with new coordinator Jim Knowles has been an interesting experience.
He's still a mad scientist, but I kind of see him as like a grandpa figure now. It's funny as hell whenever he gets us now in camp. I used to get down myself sometimes whenever he'd make fun of us, but now we understand that it's like all out of love. We're a big family in that group, so now whenever he makes fun of us, I'll chuckle sometimes, but I mean, we're still serious at points. I mean, he's a great guy to be around.
Linebacker Tommy Engenberg working on his leadership skills.
I would say so, yes, just because it's so important to me. This is, this is everything I work for, and this is everything that I want. When I want something, you're going to give your all, and you're going to, try to do things right the first time.
We'll have more right after this. Football's Archie Griffin for Encova Insurance.
Much like in athletics, Encova Insurance relies on teamwork, accountability, and dedication to execute a successful game plan. With smart digital solutions, superior financial strength, and more, Encova provides a full range of insurance products to encircle businesses and individuals with coverage at every step in life's journey. Contact your independent Encova Insurance agent or visit Encova.com for more information.
Hi, this is Paul Keels. This Buckeye season, don't let a broken windshield ruin your game plan. Safe Light Auto Glass makes it easy to get your windshield fixed with their mobile glass shops all over Central Ohio. They can come to you anywhere, giving Buckeye fans more time for game time. OH? Man, I love that. Schedule at SafeLight.com. Safe Light Auto Glass is a proud sponsor of Ohio State Athletics.
Safe Light Repair, Safe Light Replace.
This is the Ohio State Sports Network from Learfield.
It would seem there's a lot being put on the shoulders of this linebacking group with a new coordinator and a new defense. But fifth-year senior Taraja Mitchell says it's something that they've really taken a hold of.
Oh, most definitely. It's very fun. Like I said, it's so variable. The offense can't really tell where we're in sometimes. And like I said, we're just attacking like a lot more downhill, a lot of blitzes, a lot of everything. So.
And not just with the linebacking group and a new defense, but Taraja Mitchell has been around long enough. He knows what it's like with the high expectations that are always associated with Ohio State football.
To us, we can't really look at the expectations. You know, every day we got to come in and work and just lay the groundwork. We got to build our house. And like I said, we're starting over, so it starts with the foundation. Every day we're just working on the little things. And we'll focus on the results when they come. Right now, we're just focused on the process.
And a lot of curiosity about how many linebackers will be on the field at one time. Season opener is September 3rd against Notre Dame. Another report coming up next week. This is Paul Keels on the Ohio State Sports Network from Learfield.
The Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. Presented by Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty. Weekdays at 3 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio.
ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
The mid-afternoon and early evening will be partly cloudy, a high near 88. Tonight's going to be partly cloudy, a low near 65. And tomorrow's going to be mostly cloudy, a high near 88. I'm Pete Spivak for 1410 ESPN Radio.
Now's the time to get a great deal on Kubota construction equipment, featuring durable Kubota engines, more comfort, more productivity, more get it done right. The Kubota construction lineup shows up ready to work every day. Right now, bring home select Kubota equipment for 0 down, 0% APR for up to 36 months. Now through September 30th. See us or go to KubotaUSA.com for more details.
See Columbus Equipment Company, 7570 New Carlisle Pike in Dayton.
Progressive Snapshot can save you money based on how you drive and how much you drive. So the safer you drive, the more money you could save. Now, if you didn't hear that because you were looking at your phone while driving, let me say it again. Seriously, put down your phone. That is so unsafe. If you didn't do stuff like use your phone while driving, you could save money with Progressive Snapshot. But saving or not, just put it down. And if you did hear it the first time because you weren't looking at your phone, nice work. You'd love Snapshot from Progressive because it rewards safe drivers. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Snapshot not available in California and North Carolina or from all agents.
The roar of our engines, the pump of our heartbeats, the pedal to our metal, the sparks that ignite us, the pistons that push us, the passions that drive us. From the feelings that move us to the places that pull us on the roads that unite us. With nearly 6,000 stores and over 17,000 auto care centers, Napa has America's largest network of parts and care, here to keep you firing on all cylinders.
You've been putting back a few, and a few becomes a few too many. For a moment, you think of calling for a ride, but nah, you live nearby. What's the worst that could happen? You get pulled over, your insurance goes up, you lose your license, you total your car, you kill someone. The results of driving drunk are tragic. That's why law enforcement is out there looking for impaired drivers to save lives. So if you think you're okay to drive after a few drinks, think again. Drive sober or get pulled over. Paid for by NHTSA.
You need employees.
Tell me about it.
Actually, tell us about it.
Why?
Because when you tell us about your job openings, we can tell over 300,000 other people.
You can?
Yeah, whether you're looking for a job or a better job, Alpha Media Recruitment can help fill any position with qualified job seekers with a custom plan that combines our broadcast and digital platforms.
You can do that?
It's what we do. Alpha Media Dayton, on air, on site, on demand. Call 937-519-0111. That's 937-519-0111. Or email DaytonJobs@alphamediausa.com. That's DaytonJobs@alphamediausa.com.
Happy Friday. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. Mine is Kev Nash today here on a Friday. I hope everyone's had a great day and a great week. And I hope you have some fun plans lined up heading into the weekend at that. So we got a lot to get into here in this hour. Joey Votto, an update after he had successful surgery earlier today. I want to talk about the future of Joey Votto and what he means to the Reds organization. And when you think back, like if we are about to embark on the final season of Joey Votto in Cincinnati, I am curious people's thoughts of where he is going to rank in the team's history. And I don't mean like statistically. I know he'll be an all-time great, but perception. Because the one thing when you think about all the Reds greats, when you go back and you think about the Pete Roses and the Johnny Bench, you know what I mean? You think of these guys. What's the Joe Morgan and you think of winners, Barry Larkin. You think of guys who have won the World Series, the Big Red Machine, the 90s World Series team. You think of winners. Joey Votto will be the greatest loser in Reds history. And I know that's I shouldn't have used that word because I don't think he's a loser. But the problem is he will be the greatest Red of all time that will always be associated with losing. There is not what is Joey Votto's moment in the playoffs? We'll get to that coming up around the corner. All right. So big news. Not really. This isn't huge news, but it is news that I found interesting. Quinn Ewers. Everyone remember that name? The Texas Longhorns, of course, is where Quinn Ewers, after not really decommitting, but entering the transfer portal, leaving Ohio State. Last year he was third or fourth on the depth chart, and he kind of early enrolled because in the state of Texas, he was supposed to be a senior in high school that year, and at that time you were not able to capitalize off your name, image, and likeness, as a high schooler. But you could in Ohio. So what he did is to be able to accept the big dollars that came his way, to be able to capitalize off the name, image, and likeness opportunities that were coming his way, he early enrolled at Ohio State. And again, that's where he had committed to, Richard, but then he early enrolled and then showed up, and Ohio State had one of the deepest quarterback rooms in all of college football, of course. If Quinn Ewers is your fourth string quarterback, I'd say you're doing pretty well, right? But, it ends up all becoming a farce because I don't think he ever intended to play at Ohio State. I think he wanted to take advantage of the name, image, and likeness opportunity. You know what? Good for him. It's called good business, you know what I mean? Well, good business is what I think Steve Sarkisian and Texas find themselves in the midst of doing right now, because I guess some news that broke earlier, about maybe a half hour, an hour ago, caught everyone's attention. Quinn Ewers has been named the starting quarterback for the Texas Longhorns this year. Now, you're probably saying, well, what does that matter? Of course. I mean, that's why he went to Texas. He's the number one quarterback in the 2022 class. Why wouldn't he be the starting quarterback for the Texas Longhorns? Well, because he hasn't had a very good camp. And it really kind of startled the media today. A couple college football reporters, we even talked about this. Adam Rittenberg had put this out a little bit ago, that they were, of course, meeting with Steve Sarkisian, the post-practice press conference, and literally as practice was ending, announced, oh, yeah, by the way, Quinn Ewers is our starter. And collectively as a whole, the media who cover this team, who have witnessed the maybe not struggles to the point where you think that he's just horrible, but he has not popped off the page. Like, you go to a Buckeye practice, you're going to watch CJ Stroud. He is going to pop off the field. I remember when Trevor Lawrence was a true freshman at Clemson. I mean, Kelly Bryant was an accomplished quarterback that had led Clemson to the playoff the year before. And then going into that year, it's like, what are you disappointed about with Kelly Bryant? He could lead you to the playoff. He's a very good quarterback. But you know what ended up happening? Trevor Lawrence, it just was a significant night and day difference. He was significantly better. He popped off the field as a true freshman, which is what led to Dabo Swinney really feeling the pressure to have to get the ball to him, to kind of let him be the guy to give him a chance to win a national title that year. Luckily, they did. They, a couple games into the season, they're undefeated. They still take the keys away from Kelly Bryant. They give them to Trevor Lawrence, and the rest is history. He goes on to win a national championship as a true freshman against Alabama. Like, it was an insane storyline. I mean, we've seen some impressive storylines in college when it comes to the unthinkable becoming not just thinkable, but reality. Braxton Miller goes down, and then JT Barrett's the quarterback for the Buckeyes in the 2014 inaugural college football playoff season. JT Barrett dominant all season long, setting Big Ten freshman record after Big Ten record after Buckeye record, and then he goes down in the Michigan game. And now you got to go to Cardale Jones, and you got a Big Ten title game against a top 25 Wisconsin team, and your playoff chances, which were kind of rolling in your favor, are now all but bleak, because you're not going to win a Big Ten championship and get to the college football playoff with a third string quarterback. It was kind of an interesting storyline with the fact that JT Barrett was the backup quarterback, right? Well, Cardale Jones, they blow out Wisconsin 50-something to nothing or whatever it was, and they go on and they come from behind and they blow out to Alabama, and then they take care of business against Oregon, and boom, one of the best storylines I'd ever heard of. And then you fast forward and you get all the way to that Clemson season where they beat Alabama in the national championship with Trevor Lawrence, a true freshman quarterback. I just shared the details of that. Kelly Bryant, who had just led Clemson to the playoff the year before after replacing Deshaun Watson. Guess what? They start the season undefeated. There's no reason to move on from Kelly Bryant, except when you're at practice, you could just see that the better quarterback is Trevor Lawrence. Dabo Swinney knew it. He knew their best chance to win a national championship was to go to the true freshman, Trevor Lawrence. True freshman should not beat Nick Saban and Alabama. And that's exactly what happened. That was the second most impressive quarterback storyline in the college football playoff, era. And then my favorite one involves Tua Tagovailoa and Alabama. It's the fact that it's the national championship game. Jalen Hurts is the quarterback for Alabama. It's halftime. It's the freaking national championship. And Nick Saban had a pair of cojones that are as big as bowling balls, because he decided to not just change quarterbacks in the middle of camp, in the middle of the season. Not in the, you know what I mean? Not at halftime of a regular season game. A national championship game. He goes to a true freshman in Tua Tagovailoa. He starts the second half, and they come from behind to win a national championship. We have seen so many great quarterback storylines that just you can make movies. I mean, the Buckeyes in 2014 winning the inaugural college football playoff national championship. My goodness, I mean, that's a movie script. What happened? Trevor Lawrence, a true freshman, taking over for an undefeated quarterback who had just led the team to the playoff the year before. And then not just taking over, but winning and blowing teams out and blowing out Nick Saban in Alabama in the national championship. That's a movie script. Tua Tagovailoa coming in to take over for Jalen Hurts in the championship game, the national championship. There is no more pressure in the world that could have been placed on the shoulders of an athlete than Tua Tagovailoa at halftime of a national championship game, and the true freshman who was, was sitting in a cafeteria eating lunch with his friends, drinking from juice boxes the year before, is now the starting quarterback at halftime of a national championship game for Nick Saban in Alabama, and he leads them from behind to win it. We have seen the best storylines in the history of college football, all within the last 10-year window since the college football, less than that, the last 8 years. What's the next big quarterback storyline that we're going to find significant that is going to add to the greatness of those movie script type storylines? And what we're seeing is, and with this Texas program, is we're starting to see these great quarterbacks kind of spread out everywhere a little bit. And I find Quinn Ewers to be very fascinating, because you look at Quinn Ewers, who goes to Ohio State for 1 year, then enters the transfer portal, commits to the Texas Longhorns, is not having a good camp. But Quinn Ewers was the talk of the entire state of Texas, right, when he got there. And then all of a sudden, Sarkisian, they get Arch Manning. And then they get the number one running back. So next year, in 2023, they have the number one quarterback in the 2022 class in Quinn Ewers, although he early, enrolled for last year technically, but you see what I'm saying. Next year, they have the number one quarterback coming in the class of 2023, and they have the number one running back. Like that's insane to me. So that's what Steve Sarkisian in Texas, they're looking ahead to next year saying, we got the number one quarterback coming in and the number one running back coming in. And we have Quinn Ewers, who's not having a very solid camp. We don't have time. Like last year, I guess, Texas had kind of shared time between quarterbacks. And as I've told David Shaw on many occasions, if you have two quarterbacks, you have none. And it sounds like Texas might be in a similar situation. There have been no reports of any kind of confidence being instilled into Quinn Ewers as far as having a good camp. So that's why you could hear a pin drop today when Texas announced that Quinn was the starting quarterback for the Longhorns. It shouldn't be surprising. It shouldn't be breaking news. I mean, as the number one, quarterback in the class of 22, like this should just be a given, right? Especially with Texas, who lost 4, 5, 6 games last year. They're not a powerhouse as far as being deep at quarterback and having the answer there. It's not like they have a CJ Stroud that you have to be conflicted of who, do you take his job or do you know what I mean? There was none of that. So the fact that there was a battle this long into camp when we're just a couple weeks from the season kicking off, that's not good news for Texas when it comes to Quinn Ewers. But see, I think what's happening is, I think to the surprise of many, I think they're going with the quarterback that they feel the least confidence in, because I think what they need to know is, hey, Quinn Ewers, you either have it or you don't. We've seen too many examples of young freshman quarterbacks who come in and just show that they have it. You could blame Quinn Ewers needs to blame Tua Tagovailoa. He needs to blame Trevor Lawrence. He needs to blame Cardale Jones, although wasn't a true freshman, but a guy who had in his wildest dreams during Buckeye camp in 2014, did he actually believe he'd be the starting quarterback for the Buckeyes national championship team? He had no idea. Those guys have ruined it for guys like Quinn Ewers, because he doesn't get the benefit of the doubt of, if he struggles, well, he's only a freshman, technically a sophomore, second-year freshman, if that's what you want to call it. No, the greats have it. You either have it or you don't. Justin Fields would have been great had he started at Georgia that first year. But he comes to Ohio State, and in his very first game at Ohio State, his second year in college football, but his first year as a starter, he literally had thrown 3 touchdowns and over 200 yards in the very first quarter against Florida Atlantic. We saw right away with Justin Fields that he was great. It didn't matter that it was Florida Atlantic. The fact is, it was Florida Atlantic. It was a bad team, and Justin Fields did what he was supposed to. If he would have had 200 yards and 3 touchdowns at halftime, we would have been impressed. He had 3 touchdowns and 200-plus yards in the first quarter. We knew he was great right off the bat. We didn't need to see it. We didn't need to be convinced. We just knew. So I think that's what Sarkisian in Texas is doing now with Quinn Ewers is, hey, You don't get the benefit of the doubt of being only a second-year quarterback. You don't get the benefit of the doubt of this is supposed to be your actual true freshman season. You don't get that. You either have it or you don't. When you got Arch Manning coming in and you got the number one running back coming in and, Texas has been killing it on the recruiting trail as of late. When you're the Texas Longhorns, they're basically telling Quinn Ewers, they're throwing you into the deep end and it's sink or swim. And I don't know if Quinn Ewers is going to be the Texas's version of Tate Martel. Or that's the thing. As a Buckeye fan, are we watching Quinn Ewers? Is he going to be the next Tate Martel, or is he going to be the next Joe Burrow? We bid farewell to Tate Martel. We bid farewell to Quinn Ewers. One quarterback left Ohio State, and it was just one of those nightmares where you're like, my God, that could have been the Buckeyes quarterback. That would have been a disaster. And then the other guy leaves, goes to LSU. And we sat there and said, my God, we love Justin Fields, but we could have had that guy. We could have had Joe Burrow. Quinn Ewers, Tate Martel, Joe Burrow. I don't know what this season's going to behold, but I do know this. We have seen so many great storylines out of the quarterback position that I cannot wait to see what happens. I'm pulling for Quinn Ewers because I find the kid fascinating. The mullet is badass, by the way. But Texas is in good shape because very similar to Ohio State last year. Okay, the roles were reversed a little. The Buckeyes said, well, we're going to roll C.J. Stroud out there. And if C.J. Stroud kills it and has a great Heisman quality type season, then we know we don't just have a Heisman level quarterback for 2021. We also have him for 2022. And if he fails, then you know what? That's fine. Buckeye quarterbacks don't usually fail anymore. But if he fails, so what? We got Quinn Ewers next year, right? We got Kyle McCord. We got some of these other cats that will be fine. That's not the case. Obviously, C.J. Stroud worked out. And I think Texas is looking at Quinn Ewers, basically telling him the same thing. Hey, if you start this year and you kick ass, we have the number one quarterback coming in next year. He may transfer from Texas because you're going to be our guy for the next 2 years. Or if he struggles this year, that's going to be the door that opens up for the number one quarterback and the number one running back in the class of 23 to come in and hook those horns. We'll see what happens. I'm excited. But Quinn Ewers, 518-1410. Buckeye fans, I want to hear from you. We're watching Quinn Ewers, who left Ohio State, who's now at Texas. Are we watching the next Tate Martel, or are we watching the next Joe Burrow? Is he going to kill it at Texas? Is he going to bring Texas back? Well, we're going to find out very early because I think they have Louisiana Monroe for the first game, but they have Alabama and Nick Saban in game 2. One of the biggest non-conference games of the year. I can't wait for that one. But we'll know if Quinn Ewers is the real deal or not. He'll be tested in week 2 against Alabama. Quinn Ewers, Tate Martel, or is he Joe Burrow? 518-1410, or head to the Facebook page, The Justin Kinner Show on Facebook. Leave your comments and your opinions on the matter in the chat section. We'll pick up with this when we come back.
Listen, stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash right here on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM.
At the Montgomery County Veterans Service Commission.
Radio 24/7, 365. We're here when you want us. Stay connected and listen anywhere when you download the free iHeartRadio app.
Cordell Transportation is now hiring Class A CDL drivers with a $5,000 sign-on bonus. Home daily dedicated lanes, no-touch freights, new equipment. Apply online at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
Oh, are you seeing these readings? This is incredible.
Short-staffed, Marco's climate research facility is in the eye of the storm. The atmospheric pressure to find more weather specialists is mounting.
Man, this is going to be a big job. We're going to need a bigger team.
Indeed can help him hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. We instantly connect you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Why choose proven quality sleep from Sleep Number? Because our Sleep Number 360 smart bed is really smart. It senses your movement and automatically adjusts to help keep you both comfortable. Plus, it's temperature balancing so you stay cool. It's even smart enough to know exactly how long, how well, and when you slept. Our smart sleepers get 28 minutes more restful sleep per night. Sleep Number takes care of the science. All you have to do is sleep. Don't miss our weekend special where all smart beds are on sale. Save 50% on the Sleep Number 360 limited edition smart bed, plus free delivery when you add a base. Ends Monday. To learn more, go to sleepnumber.com.
With Discover, you can redeem your rewards for cash in any amount at any time. Learn more at discover.com/redeem rewards. Terms apply.
Ray Magliozzi here for eBay Motors. So you have to drive 300 miles to your cousin's wedding. Okay, so it's his fourth. But you know what they say, fourth time's the charm. Well, here's the problem. Your tires are as bald as I am. But lucky for you, eBay Motors has tires for just about every make and model. Plus wheels, lug nuts, jack stands, and more. 122 million parts. Do they have tissues? Oh, good, because I'm definitely a crier. Get the right parts at the right prices. eBay Motors. Let's ride.
Wireless headphones. That'll be $200.
I'll use my Capital One Quicksilver card.
Now that's a hit. You used the Capital One Quicksilver card, which makes you the hero of every purchase. With Quicksilver, you earn unlimited 1.5% cash back on every purchase everywhere.
I wanted running music, but unlimited 1.5% cash back is pretty heroic.
Good instincts. Every hero needs a theme song. The Capital One Quicksilver card. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Visit Cincinnati and see for yourself why the Queen City is the birthplace of professional baseball. Catch a Reds game at Great American Ballpark and be sure to explore the Reds Hall of Fame and Museum presented by Dinsmore. Thanks to the HCS Foundation, kids 12 and younger receive free admission into the Hall of Fame, where the whole family can enjoy interactive exhibits and thousands of artifacts from over 150 years of Reds baseball. For details and tickets, visit Reds.com.
If you're looking to obtain a quality education at a low price, look no further than Clark State. With over 160 degrees and certificates available, Clark State has a path for you to reach your goals. Our tuition rates are one of the lowest in Ohio, so getting that degree is easier than ever without breaking the bank. For more information about Clark State, visit us at www.clarkstate.edu.
You've been putting back a few, and a few becomes a few too many. For a moment, you think of calling for a ride, but nah, you live nearby. What's the worst that could happen? You get pulled over, your insurance goes up, you lose your license, you total your car, you kill someone. The results of driving drunk are tragic. That's why law enforcement is out there looking for impaired drivers to save lives. So if you think you're okay to drive after a few drinks, think again. Drive sober or get pulled over. Paid for by NHTSA.
If you need new roofing, siding, or gutters, skylights, or patio enclosures, if you're a homeowner or business and need someone you can trust, don't take a chance. Enhance with Lance. Lance Roofing and Siding in Fairborn has been satisfying customers since 1993 and hold an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. Lance Roofing and Siding, 8460 Dayton Springfield Road in Fairborn. Call for a free estimate at 864-2722. That's 864-2722 or online at lanceroofing.com.
Wouldn't a piping hot Marion's pizza go great about now? With dripping cheese, a crunchy crust, and loaded with your favorite toppings, served with a cold draft beer. Or how about a Marion submarine, steak or meatball sandwich, or maybe a Marion spaghetti? With a garlic bread and a crisp dinner salad, anything you choose from Marion's complete menu is sure to please, whatever the time. So stop by any one of Marion's 9 convenient Dayton area locations where you can dine in or carry out.
The
The Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. Presented by Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty. Weekdays at 3 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio.
All the time.
Justin Kinner back with you here on a Friday. Hope everyone has some fun plans lined up for this weekend. Talk a little Reds baseball here with you this afternoon. The Cincinnati Reds will be back in action coming up here later on tonight. Again, they had an off night last night. They were able to get a walk-off win on Wednesday from Barrero, again, in a win over the Phillies to avoid the sweep. But the game one against the Pirates tonight on Dayton's home of the Cincinnati Reds, 1410 ESPN Radio. Real quick, as we put a bow on the previous conversation about Quinn Ewers, you know, it's interesting. We've seen quarterbacks leave Ohio State and some go on to kill it and others go on to have, well, really horrible experiences. And the two most notable transfers that I could think of for Ohio State that have done really, really big things, either big in a positive way or big in a negative way, the two most notable Buckeye quarterback transfers that come to mind when I think about QBs leaving Ohio State. I think of two names. I think of Joe Burrow and I think of, well, Tate Martel, and two for completely vastly different reasons. When Joe Burrow left Ohio State, he goes on to LSU and he goes on to win a national championship. He goes on to win a Heisman Trophy. He goes on to be the number one overall pick selected by the Cincinnati Bengals. He's gone on to already in year two lead his team to a Super Bowl and was within 2 seconds away. If the O-line, less than that, it was less than a second. If the O-line could have protected him for just a split half a second longer, he connects with Lamar Chase and they win a Super Bowl. So when I think of QB transfers from Ohio State, I think of Joe Burrow. And then I also think of Tate Martel, who, you know, that what was it, like a magazine or the book or just the game or the Where's Waldo? That's Tate Martel is the adult version of Where's Waldo. Where in the blue hell is Tate Martel? That's the game that we all play all the time, right? I don't even know where he's at. I think he's done with college football, right? Is he at UNLV? Is that where he ended up? Where did he end up? Is he still playing? I have no idea. I don't care. I don't think you guys do either. But that's the thing. He was such a train wreck. And when the Buckeyes got, you know, his commitment, that was a huge deal. I remember I was here at the station. I was in my office, and we went back before COVID, you know, when we had, this place was full. We had a ton of Buckeye fans in here. And when it finally broke, Bucknuts, I believe, released the article about Tate Martel committing to Ohio State. People went nuts. Like, Tate Martel, that was a big deal when he committed to Ohio State. He leaves, and the scary thing is when Urban Meyer left, I mean, technically Tate Martel was next man up. That's why he got so territorial. That's why he got so kind of weird when the rumors were out there about Justin Fields at Georgia, because he thought that, man, it's my turn. And that's okay to have that mindset. But, man, when you make comments about, hey, make sure you don't swing and miss for the third time, and he swings and misses, not one, not two, not three, goes all LeBron on everybody, and not winning championships, but not one, not two, not three, not four. Brutal. I mean, absolutely brutal as far as that's concerned. But so those are the two transfer QBs from Ohio State I think of the most. So the other transfer that is a huge deal is the number one quarterback in the class of 2022. Although, to be fair, I'm not going to pretend to know it all here. I'm not really sure how that works. He reclassified, or he enrolled, or he early enrolled, last year to go to Ohio State. So he early enrolled at Ohio State last year. So did that shift over to last year's class? Is he still technically the number one quarterback in the class of 22? You see my point, but that's a big deal. Ohio State had the number one quarterback in the class of 2022, and obviously he transferred to Texas. He was named the starter today. So I had asked the question, do you believe that Quinn Ewers is going to be the next Tate Martel, the next disaster story, the next, man, we dodged a bullet? And then you look at Joe Burrow, oh, man, we could have had him. We could have had Joe Burrow. Who's Quinn Ewers? 2 years from now, are we going to be are we going to try to take credit for Quinn Ewers' success 2 years from now? Or are we going to be trying to pretend that we never had anything to do with him like we do Tate Martel? That's where that joke has come from for me. Because I hate, by the way, every school thinks they're special. Every school does the whole once a Buckeye, always a Buckeye. You'll hear Dayton Flyers, people, once a Flyer, always a Flyer. I remember RIP, Mr. Mark Schlemmer, miss you. But him and I would always make fun of him for that. He'd get so ticked at me because he'd be, hey, once a Flyer, always a Flyer. I was like, I don't know why you say that like that. Like, everyone thinks it, no matter what college you go to, if you had a good experience. I hear people at Wright State say that, and you're probably laughing, and that's totally fine. But no matter what school you go to, once a Flyer, always a Flyer. Once a Raider, always a Raider. What's the Buckeyes? Okay, cool. Once a Buckeye, always a Buckeye, unless you're Tate Martell, because that's what Buckeye fans do. When they are successful, we take credit for them all. When Buckeyes are successful, Joe Burrow, he's a Buckeye. Man, look at Joe Burrow. He's representing the Buckeye quarterbacks well in the NFL, right? No, sorry, it's not how that works. Tate Martell, though, how come we don't take credit for him? Well, because he's you know what I mean? Everyone in the family, they have that black sheep in the family, that kind of an embarrassment. I'm that for mine, by the way. I'm the outsider in my family. So, I get that completely. They don't really want to take credit for you, that type of thing. Like, that's kind of where I'm at when it comes to Tate Martell. Buckeye fans never want to take credit for him, but they want to take credit for that extended family, Joe Burrow, who wasn't really your first cousin, but, he's a cousin of a cousin of a cousin, and now you want to, hey, my cousin's Joe Burrow. So it is what it is. But interestingly enough, John Sladen's messages into the show, I said, is Quinn Ewers, is he going to be Joe Burrow or Tate Martell? John Sladen says, if he blows up like Stroud did for Ohio State last year, can't see Manning starting as a freshman. From what I heard from multiple podcasts is he has potential, but probably can use a year of seasoning. Sladen's, do you mean... You said, from what I heard from multiple podcasts, is he has potential, but probably can use a year of seasoning. Are you talking about Manning most likely going to need a year of seasoning? Or are you talking about Quinn Ewers needing another year of seasoning this year? But you are 1,000,000% right, Slayden's. That's the example I had given a little bit ago, is that I think that Texas finds themselves in the position that Ohio State was in a year ago, where CJ Stroud's the guy they knew they wanted to be the quarterback, but they weren't 100% sure. And I can understand why they weren't 100% sure, because CJ Stroud looked a little iffy, to start the season. And I think Texas is like that with Quinn Ewers. They want Quinn Ewers to be the guy, but he's a little iffy right now. But the only way is by throwing him out there. And that's what Ohio State did. They threw CJ Stroud out there, and it was sink or swim. And my God, did he swim? You know what I mean? Like, it was unbelievable. CJ Stroud, and I said this from the beginning. People got so mad at me, by the way, for you Buckeye fans who were hating on Quinn Ewers. A year ago at this time, I said that Quinn Ewers would never take a meaningful snap at Ohio State, and you guys got mad at me. And I said the reason he'll never take a meaningful snap at Ohio State is because CJ Stroud, if he is who he's supposed to be, if you're a Buckeye quarterback, you're supposed to be a Heisman-level quarterback. So if CJ Stroud is who he's supposed to be, there is no way in hell that if he almost wins a Heisman, or heaven forbid wins a Heisman, or takes the Buckeyes to the playoff, there's no way in hell that they are going to tell him, yeah, you're not it. We got to go to Quinn. And I said that the freshmen nowadays, they're not patient. They don't believe in the Mac Jones approach. Mac Jones was, and by the way, earlier I shared my top quarterback stories in college football. He should be out of that list because, man, we'll never see another Mac Jones in college football. The guy that waits his turn, the guy that sat not behind one, but two quarterbacks at Alabama, and then finally got his turn, and then not just, got a chance to start, but won a Heisman, won a national championship. Like, come on, like that doesn't happen anymore. It should be, oh man, we get a couple years of CJ Stroud and then get a couple years of Quinn Ewers and then a couple years of, no, it's like, oh man, we got to decide now, first year Quinn Ewers, but we got this top quarterback in next year's class coming in. And if Stroud kills it this year and Ewers is coming in, man, what do we do? Because what if, we can't tell Quinn Ewers that he has to sit behind CJ Stroud next year. Well, that's exactly what you have to do. And if you don't, he's going to leave. And that's what happened. Texas, Sladen's, to your credit, same thing. So it is what it is. But, we'll see what happens as far as that's concerned. But, it'll be interesting. I think the best way to learn about Quinn Ewers is to throw him out into the fire. They open up with like Louisiana Tech, I believe. And then right after that, it's Alabama. So the Longhorns will know right off the bat if Quinn Ewers is the guy or not. And it's one of those where, okay, if he is the guy, it's like kind of a win-win for Texas. If Quinn Ewers is the guy, that's great. That means they're right away in the driver's seat to represent the Big 12 in the college football playoff this year, right? Like, it's a win-win. And if he's not the guy, they can kind of relax a little bit because they know they have Arch Manning coming in next year. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's kind of a win-win as far as I'm concerned. It was kind of a win-win last year for Ohio State. It was one of those, well, if CJ Stroud, if he's successful and he's great and he's a Heisman candidate, great. That's a good thing. That's the only way we're going to be successful. And if he's not successful, well, that's fine. Now we don't have to have that awkward conversation with Quinn Ewers when it's time to have that. Obviously, he's no longer there, but that's where Texas is at right now. If Quinn is the guy, it's a win for them. They'll be a playoff contender this year. Super. And if he's not, that opens the door heading into 23 to hook up their ship, of course, to Arch Manning and the number one running back in next year's class as well. I mean, Texas is loaded. It will be loaded moving forward. They got some holes to fill this year, but they're filling those holes quickly. Sarkisian's done a very good job with his second chance over at Texas. All right, switching gears back to the Reds. The Reds back in action tonight, and they'll open up a 3-game series on the road against the Pittsburgh Pirates. Mercifully, this season is almost over, Reds fans. But, there's still something great about having that Reds game on in the background. I don't think Tommy Thrall, poor Tommy Thrall, by the way, he has to replace a legend. And to Tommy Thrall's credit, the radio voice of the Reds, by the way, to Tommy Thrall's credit, Tommy Thrall, every time I've referred to him as, he replaced Marty Brennaman, he always stops me. He goes, stop, you don't replace Marty Brennaman. You don't replace the Vin Scully's of the world. You don't replace the Marty Brennamans of the world. So I've always tried to stop myself from saying that. So I made that mistake again. But he has done a fantastic job. Like, I honestly, like when Marty was with the Reds, I always had the game on in the background. I come home from work, had the game on TV, and I'd be watching it off in the background. But I always had the game on in the background. And, I stopped that for a while just because, Tommy was not Marty, and he'll tell you he's not Marty. But I've got to the point now where when I hear Tommy Thrall's voice calling a game, it's just comforting. It's soothing too, just like when Marty did it. I'm a big fan of Tommy Thrall. I think he's done a fantastic job. It was a very tough situation to come in because no matter what, everyone was going to say is you're not Marty. But I'm at the point now where I'm listening to a bad Reds team on the radio, and it's because I enjoy the commentary, of course, from Tommy Thrall and the Cowboy and just the different guys that they kind of rotate in and out of there. But mercifully, the season's almost over, that's for sure. But if you would like a chance to go to Great American Ballpark, we will be giving away, starting next week, every day, we'll be giving away multiple pairs of tickets to watch the Reds at Great American Ballpark. I don't want to hear about no one wants to watch that team. Go support some of the future players of the Reds and just take in, it's Great American Ballpark. It's a great environment. It's a Major League Baseball game. Overpriced beer, expensive parking. I mean, it's a great experience, folks, and we're going to give that to you. You're responsible for your beer and parking, though, but we'll give you the tickets. How about that? So there you go. A Red story for you here, though. So Joey Votto, it's been interesting. Joey Votto got hurt earlier in the week, and Bobby Nightingale tweeted this out earlier, about a half hour ago, that Joey Votto was placed on the 60-day IL with his left rotator cuff tear. He underwent the surgery today. Nick Kroll said that the Reds anticipate that he will be ready sometime in spring training of 2023. And the big question I have for everyone is, when you hear that, what do you feel? What do you feel? I mean, like, does that make you excited that Joey Votto's coming back for another year? That's the question I have. So here we go. We're going to step away for a few moments. I know I teased the Reds for the previous segment, but I promise you on the other side, Joey Votto had successful surgery today on his torn rotator cuff. Nick Kroll, the Reds general manager, who, by the way, has done a very good job this year. Again, you're the general manager of one of the worst teams in baseball. It's not a title you want to wear, of course, but I thought, considering the circumstances, Nick Kroll has killed it. That'll be a topic for, another week's show, I'm sure, especially as we get closer to Reds Fest. But I thought he's done a good job. But he announced today that Joey Votto had successful surgery and will most likely be back sometime in spring training of 2023. And you hear that, and of course you're happy that he's going to be okay, but where's your mind going? Oh man, come on, Joey Votto. We've seen the best deal. Let's just call it a career, and let's let the Reds use that money to kind of shore up this roster, right? Or are you excited because, hey, although it's going to be a losing season next year, you still get to see one of the Reds' all-time greats in Joey Votto. 518-1410. If you want to have that conversation on the phone, that's fine. If not, we'll pick up with this on the other side live on Facebook and, of course, YouTube. So we'll be right back. Joey Votto back in spring training of 2023. That's the anticipated return of Joey Votto. How's that make you feel? We'll discuss next.
The Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. Presented by Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty. Weekdays at 3 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Every search you make, every click you take, they'll be watching you.
Tired of companies like Google and Facebook watching everything you do online? There's actually a simple solution. DuckDuckGo. It's an all-in-one privacy app with a built-in private search engine, web browser, one-click data clearing, email protection, and more, all for free. Download the app today and get.
Are you one of those people who thinks it's okay to drive stoned? I mean, what's the worst that can happen? You end up driving below the speed limit? It's no big deal, right? Wrong. The truth is, your reaction times slow way down when you're high. You not only put yourself in danger, but everyone around you. Talk about a buzzkill. Stop kidding yourself. It's not okay to drive high. If you've been using marijuana in any form, do not get behind the wheel. If you feel different, you drive different. Drive high, get a DUI. Paid for by NHTSA.
It's time for another free R&B concert. The 2022 Eichelberger concert season at the Levitt Pavilion in downtown Dayton continues this weekend with 3 free concerts, including the Nth Power. All concerts at the Levitt Dayton are family friendly and open to the public. No ticket needed. Grab your cooler and lawn chair, and we'll see you on the CareSource lawn at the Levitt Pavilion, Dayton. View the entire lineup at levittdayton.org.
Looking for dippable chicken that's done right? Just stop by Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken for the 10-piece strips meal at a great price. You'll get 10 premium chicken tenderloins that are freshly marinated, honey-dipped, hand-breaded, and cooked to crispy perfection, along with 2 of our large sides, 5 fluffy biscuits, and 3 of your favorite dipping sauces. These are the best strips, no bones about it. Make your family and your wallet happy with a 10-piece strips meal, only at Lee's. Famous for chicken.
Weather brought to you by Cullet Seal Coating, protecting the asphalt surfaces around your home, office, or commercial property. Crack filling, asphalt sealing, and parking lot striping. Find us at culletsealcoating.com.
Electrifying. Government Mule and Trombone Shorty in Orleans Avenue. Together live. Trombone Shorty in Orleans Avenue. Government Mule. On the same night. August 25th, Rose Music Center at the Heights. Tickets are on sale now at Ticketmaster.com and the Rose Music Center box office. Government Mule and Trombone Shorty in Orleans Avenue.
It's official. When it comes to pizza, Marion's Piazza serves the very best. In over 40 local surveys, Marion's has been voted Dayton's best pizza, and Marion's has also been ranked #1 in the nation by Pizza Today magazine. Every award-winning Marion's pizza is generously prepared with your favorite ingredients. So treat your appetite to the finest pizza around. For lunch, for dinner, or just any time, it's Marion's Pizza. Dine in or carry out at any one of Marion's 9 Dayton area locations. Joey Votto was placed on the 60-day IL with his left rotator cuff tear. Again, this was announced earlier this afternoon by, of course, many of the Reds media, but the quote I'm reading, or the tweet I'm reading, is from Bobby Nightingale. Nick Krall released a statement earlier this afternoon. Nick Krall, again, the Reds general manager, saying that Joey this morning had successful surgery to repair his left rotator cuff and bicep. The surgery was a little more than expected. The injury definitely limited the use of his left shoulder and affected his performance, but we expect he will be able to participate in spring training and be ready for the 2023 season. Very weird statement there. The more I read into it a little bit, again, it was a little bit more, it was worse than what they had anticipated. I found that a little, not odd, but I mean, I find that concerning. I don't know if you guys heard too in the pregame the other day or the postgame the other day, Joey Votto, I think it was the Wednesday game, had talked about the fact that he had known about this injury since 2015. And I don't know about you, but if this injury has been kind of nagging him a little bit to the point to where he felt he had to, at this point in the middle of August, in the midst of one of his worst slumps in his career, why now? Like, why all this? If you've had this injury since 2015, and I know it's not okay to have any bad opinions about Joey Votto, but if he has had this injury for that long, why would you not have got it taken care of sooner? Don't you believe that you kind of owed it to the Reds and to the fans to make sure that you took care of yourself in a way to make sure we're getting the best Joey Votto possible? You know, even for those of you out there who say, I don't want to hear that the Reds are a small market, they just don't spend money. Knowing that they don't spend money and knowing that you are responsible for the largest chunk of the payroll, don't you think that there would be a little bit more pressure on him to maybe go take care of that sooner? Even though he said, he goes, well, you know, it hasn't impacted me greatly, you know, over the years. Well, it doesn't matter. The fact that there was a chance. What if, folks, you know, and again, I'm being dramatic here, but what if the Reds actually were a good team this year? What if they were in the middle of a playoff run here or, a playoff push here? And then he had to stop because of this injury. Like, I find that, like, you didn't know back in 15 that you were going to be ass in 2022. I don't mean him, but I mean the team. But then again, maybe he did know. I mean, who knows? But like, I find all of this fascinating that he actually admitted that he's had this since 2015 and he's put it off. I'm like, what in the world? You know how many down years that he has had since 2015? You know how many slumps he has had? And again, it's baseball. There's lots of slumps. There's lots of ups and downs. Maybe I'm making something out of nothing because that's what Kinner does. But at the same time, I would not have admitted that if I was him, because I feel like some of those slumps could have just been natural baseball slumps. But if you're saying that this slump is because of the injury, but all the other slumps were not, that's kind of weird to me. I don't know. Like I said, I feel like he owed it to the team, and he's given this team absolutely everything at the same time. You know what I mean? Like, for a team that hasn't given him much other than money, which isn't a little bit, you know, I just feel like he should have had that taken care of sooner. But it's easy for me to say that as I'm sitting here doing the most unstrenuous job in the entire world. I mean, I guess I did hurt my shoulder the other day reaching for the microphone. It was a little further out than I'm used to, I guess, but nonetheless. But Joey Votto, again, done for the season, should be back by spring training of next year. The Cincinnati Reds, you know, here in 2022, they owe him, again, he was paid $25 million this year. He'll be due another $25 million next year. He'll be 39 years old. And in 2024, $20 million will be due, but again, unrestricted. He'll be an unrestricted free agent by 2025. I'm back and forth. I've seen so many Reds fans say that he should just retire, that Joey Votto should be done as a Cincinnati Red. And I am watching Albert Pujols, the nostalgia. Like, I've always hated Albert Pujols. I've always hated the Cardinals, but I would be lying to you if I have not been watching more Cardinals baseball lately, just for a glimpse of watching Albert Pujols. He has been on a tear as of late. I think he's hit 690 home runs. He just hit a grand slam. Was it yesterday for home run number 690? I don't know about you, but I'm starting to think of all the guys that are in baseball right now. Like, how many guys are still playing today that were guys that played during your childhood? Albert Pujols, I have a soft spot for, mainly because of the fact, like, when I watch him, I just remember watching him as a kid. I remember hating him as a kid. You know, Justin Verlander, I think, Miguel Cabrera, guys like that. But we're coming down, like, we're bidding farewell to a lot of greats that were a part of our childhood. And I have that soft spot for Albert Pujols, so I don't really want to see him retire. You know what I mean? Like, I'd love him to come back. By the way, hitting home run number 690. I don't know if he has 10 home runs left over the next month and a half, but I would really be interested to see what Albert Pujols does, by the way, if he gets to 698 home runs and that's where he ends on. You know what I mean? At the end of the 2022 season, does he maybe come back one more year to chase that record? I don't know. Oh, Justin, he wouldn't do that. Yeah, you're the same fan of Jamar Chase, who played in a meaningless Browns game in Week 17 last year because he wanted the rookie record. Guys cheat to get records all the time like that, right? Like we saw with Jamar Chase last year in the NFL, right? To get the rookie record or whatever. That's why he played in a meaningless game against the Browns. That's why he only played a couple of possessions so that he can get his little, cheap yardage against the Browns' third and fourth stringers. I mean, I know that's how he had a lot of his success against the Ravens last year. I'm sorry, guys. It's my preseason too. I'm just preparing for the upcoming season. Back to Joey Votto. What should the Reds do with Joey Votto? Should the Reds do anything with Joey Votto? I mean, you've kept him this long. He's been a part of your organization this long. What do you do with Joey Votto? You keep him. At this point, I don't think you do anything with him, mainly because the Reds aren't winning in 2023 either. And I think that Joey Votto will serve a purpose for the Reds. It's going to be the same purpose that he has served for the Castellinis throughout the majority of this contract. And that is the front office has always had the mindset of, we're not going to put a winning team out on the field, but at least you'll get to watch Joey Votto. Why should that change heading into 2023? The Reds have tried to put winners out on the field, but they're not a very well-run organization as far as structured properly to the point where you're confident that they can build a winner. That's why, although I'm confident in the team's ability to be able to build a winner at this moment, I completely get why everyone else is like, yeah, I'll believe it when I see it. Or every time a guy like Tyler Stevenson develops, or Jonathan India, or Nick Lodolo, or Hunter Green, instead of you fans being happy, you're right away just like, well, can't wait to bid farewell to him here in a couple years like we did Jesse Winker. Very valid. Like we did Johnny Cueto, very valid. So, you know what I mean? Like we did to Luis Castillo, very valid. Like I'm not here to argue with you. Like I get it. I understand it. But I'm trying to be a more optimistic person as I'm getting older here in my mid-30s. So I'm just trying new things. But the Reds, I can understand why they've beat you guys up enough times to maybe not have faith that they're going to do it right this time. But they haven't done it right the last 10 years. And the one thing that they've continued to roll out to you is, well, we have Joey Votto. Come watch him. It's Joey Votto. You're going to watch an ass team, but you're going to get to watch Joey Votto. And that's been enough to appease Reds fans for the last 10 years. But I don't know if it'll be enough. I think it'll just be an annoying reminder next year, every time Joey Votto steps into the box, that, oh, yeah, we at no point could they figure it out with them. What I think is going to happen is I think Joey Votto is going to get the AJ Green treatment. And what I mean by that is that for 9 years, AJ Green committed himself to the Cincinnati Bengals, just so that the second he leaves, the Joe Burrow era begins, and Cincinnati is such a different franchise now, right? Like if the year of 2024 is the projected year that the Reds are going to go all in, that's another year of that's 2 more years of another full season, another year and a half of developing Jonathan India, Tyler Stevenson, Nick Lodolo, Hunter Green, Graham Ashcraft, guys like that. And you see the freaking weapons that they have in the system, by the way. It's unreal what the Reds have in the pipeline right now. Kudos to Nick Krall, as I talked about earlier. But I could see this Joey Votto, AJ Green type treatment where right as Joey Votto's time in Cincinnati is done, he leaves and then the Reds take off. And you could say, well, there's no way that's going to happen. You sound stupid. By the way, if I would have told you that 2 years before AJ Green left and that the Bengals were going to take off and get to a Super Bowl without him, you would have said the same thing. But I feel like as the Reds are positioning themselves to figure it out, and I felt like how the Bengals were trying to position themselves to figure it out, the timelines are matching up. Now, AJ Green was not as valuable to the Bengals as what Joey Votto is to the Reds franchise. But, Nick Krall says that Joey Votto is going to be back next year, middle of spring training. And that means what to you? Are you excited to see him come back? Did he do anything for you this year? Joey Votto's hitting like low 200s right now. He's not good. Now, he says it's because that rotator cuff, but he also said he had that since 2015. So for 7 years, apparently, you've been playing with this injury, and whenever you're playing well, you're doing it in spite of it, and then when you're playing poor, it's, oh, man, they got this bum shoulder. Don't get it. 518-1410, let's go to Doug. Doug, thanks for holding. How are you, sir? Doug, you there? All right, Doug, we done. 518-1410. That's the number to call and jump in on the conversation. Sorry about that. We'll try and figure out whatever the heck that was. But 518-1410, that's the number to call and jump in on the conversation. We'll step away for a few moments. We're live on Facebook, but this Joey Votto thing really is going to be interesting moving forward as far as how the Reds want to deal with this. Because I think he stays. I think he stays mainly because the Reds know they're not going to win next year. Joey Votto is still going to be that draw to the ballpark because I think they might announce that, hey, this is it. Could Joey Votto announce? Like, I think Joey Votto finally, I think he was excited about coming into this year because you remember last year he was hitting the ball real well in the second half, and it's like, oh man, he got that new stance like he always does, right? But he finally figured out his stance. He finally figured it out. And he was excited about coming into this year. And there was part of me that was excited about it too, because I thought the idea of if the Reds did keep Nick Castellanos and you had obviously Jesse Winker and Eugenio Suarez and now Tyler Stevenson and Jonathan India and a Joey Votto who's hitting about 50, 260 last year towards the end. That's a very good lineup. But Joey Votto is not that Joey Votto from last year. He's not the Joey Votto of old. He's just old Joey Votto. And I just think that we as Reds fans have to raise our standard of what we want out of the Reds. If we just accept the fact that they're going to lose games next year, and we're happy that they're bringing back Joey Votto, how are you rebuilding if you're continuing to roll Joey Votto out there? You know what I mean? Like, they got to figure that out. You bring Joey Votto back next year, and maybe they have a plan. Maybe in the front office's mind is, well, we don't have any good first baseman in our pipeline. So we'll bring Joey Votto back next year, and we'll let him play it out. And when he retires, then we'll go buy a first baseman. Or maybe there's a platoon situation happening next year where Tyler Stevenson, they take him out from behind home plate. They finally take him away from the catcher position that has put him on the IL not once, not twice, but 3 times in 2022. And maybe they go that route. There's a lot of options that the Reds have. I just wonder if the best option is to bring Joey Votto back for another year. We'll be right back.
Hey, here to tell you about my friends at Cordell Transportation. They're now hiring Class A CDL drivers and offering a $5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right, a $5,000 sign-on bonus. Home daily, dedicated lanes, and no-touch freight. Brand new equipment as well. Medical, dental, vision, and company-paid life insurance. Apply online at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
We are Dayton's home of the Ohio State Buckeyes.
Into the end zone goes Chris Olave. KJ Hill, 6-yard touchdown catch. Right sideline and down he goes to the end zone.
WING 1410 Dayton, Dayton's ESPN Radio.
You have empty office space to fill or home office to create. You know what you need. You know what you'd like. But you also have a pretty good idea after you've shopped around the usual places what you need and what you like might not happen. Well, then you haven't been to Charles Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. Nobody has their selection. Nobody has their discounts. And every week, there's something new. If you need office furniture, Larrick's Warehouse Outlet can sell it to you for half the price and below manufacturer's selected prices. Half price and below on hundreds of items. Selection from budget to the best. Really, desks from $50 to $5,000. Filing cabinets from $25 to $500. Before you go anywhere else, do yourself a favor and come to Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. With 25,000 square feet of selection, you're not going to go anywhere else. Larrick's Warehouse Outlet at 23 McOil Avenue, Dayton. Open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6. Larrick's, continuing the tradition.
With Discover, you can redeem your rewards for cash in any amount at any time. Learn more at discover.com/redeem rewards. Terms apply.
If you need new roofing, siding, or gutters, skylights, or patio enclosures, if you're a homeowner or business and need someone you can trust, don't take a chance. Enhance with Lance. Lance Roofing and Siding in Fairborn has been satisfying customers since 1993 and hold an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. Lance Roofing and Siding, 8460 Dayton Springfield Road in Fairborn. Call for a free estimate at 864-2722. That's 864-2722 or online at lanceroofing.com.
You've been putting back a few, and a few becomes a few too many. For a moment, you think of calling for a ride, but Nah, you live nearby. What's the worst that could happen? You get pulled over, your insurance goes up, you lose your license, you total your car, you kill someone. The results of driving drunk are tragic. That's why law enforcement is out there looking for impaired drivers to save lives. So if you think you're okay to drive after a few drinks, think again. Drive sober or get pulled over. Paid for by NHTSA.
Attention all business owners who rent or lease space, including storage space. Stop wasting your money paying someone else for your space. You can now save a ton of money and own your own building with the incredible sale prices from General Steel. That's right, start saving money every month on renting space from others. Just call 877-25-STEEL to see how General Steel can help you save money. Our 50-year structural warranty buildings are custom designed for your needs and save you a ton of money. Call 877-25-STEEL.
Take it from a successful entrepreneur. If you need to expand or start a new business, you need General Steel.
Great team and the competitive pricing is the reason I went with General Steel.
Call 877-25-STEEL now, and you can get any of our popular quick construction structures, including a 40 by 60 foot building or a 50 by 100 clear span building fast and easy. Call 877-25-STEEL. That's 877-257-8335. 877-25-STEEL.
Staples stores are a new world of possible with innovative tools for small business and remote workers and learners. Explore more at your local Staples store or staplesconnect.com.
The snap, the hold, the kick, and it's blocked. The kick is blocked. The ball is live, and the ball is loose, and Fairmont comes away with it. Running up the far right sideline, the crowd is absolutely going crazy here, and that's going to be our first score of the night. Not the Alternites, but the Fairmont Firebirds strike first.
The Miami Valley's biggest games. It's the ESPN Dayton High School Football Game of the Week. Don't miss the excitement every Friday night, right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Last night was game one of our ESPN Dayton High School Football Game of the Week, and we had a good one. The Fairmont Firebirds knocked off the Alternites, and again, our first game of our ESPN Dayton High School Football Game of the Week last night. Pretty exciting. Josh Copeland, who played at Fairborn during his high school days, played in college at Buffalo. Him and I were on the call last night as he filled in for Keith Byers, and we got another big one coming up this Friday. Well, I shouldn't say this Friday, tonight's Friday, but next Friday, we will have the Fairmont Firebirds for the second straight week. They'll be at Trotwood, and we'll have a chance to watch two of the top teams in the Miami Valley go head-to-head, two teams that will most definitely be playing in the postseason, and excited to see those kind of matchups here early on. But yes, the final last night, Fairmont over the Alternites 31-7, and Fairmont did it in typical fashion. Again, Drew Baker, just an unbelievable running back for Fairmont, who does, carry, no pun intended, a lot of the responsibility. He gets the brunt of the contact. I mean, he just takes so much contact throughout the game, but he carried the ball 29 times last night. 29 times. Again, Fairmont, they had 46 carries last night. 29 of those belong to Drew Baker, who finished the night with 2 touchdowns, 205 yards on the ground. He was fantastic. It was just interesting to kind of of course interesting, but it's always fascinating to just watch that style of play still work in 2022. My only concerns are with that style of play always is the fact that, what happens when you trail in a game? What happens when you get behind? That's where Fairmont really struggles, and that's why when they go up against teams who could pass the ball real well, that's always kind of what worries me at times is, how do you implement a comeback like that? That's going to be the most difficult thing. But if Fairmont gets a lead on you and they get that ball back with the lead, they're going to take off 5-6 minutes off that clock. And that really is what puts the pressure on opposing teams. And we saw that pressure really get to Gavin Connor, who was the sophomore starting quarterback for the Alternites last night. By the way, he's only a sophomore. He threw a couple interceptions. He threw a touchdown. He completed 11 of 18 passes for 139 yards. But I'm telling you right now, and again, I'm not a quarterback aficionado. I'm not a college scout or an NFL scout. But the name, you're going to hear a lot of the name Gavin Connor for the Alternites over the next couple of seasons, because kid's unbelievable as a sophomore. I mean, he was a little uncomfortable to start. I believe there was 7 turnovers in the first half combined between both some fumbles and some interceptions. But Connor had a couple of rough throws early on, but once he got settled in, I mean, he was rolling out to his right, throwing across his body to the opposite end of the field. I mean, just darts. Only a sophomore. to see him get better from the first quarter to the fourth quarter was fascinating to me, and I can't imagine what he's going to look like here in a couple weeks. We have the Alter and the Trotwood game for our Week 4 game of the week. I'm excited to see him. Trotwood has a very good quarterback as well on Timothy Carpenter. He's about 6'4". He's a 3-star prospect. Again, Trotwood's quarterback, Timothy Carpenter. He has offers from Miami, Akron, Central Michigan, and a few others, but he has a lot of talent returning around him at Trotwood, which is why I'm excited to see him in action coming up this next Friday night for Week 2 of the high school football season. A lot of action tonight, though, in Week 1 of the high school football season. Talked about our big one last night, the Alter Knights going down at the hands of the Fairmont Firebirds. Fairmont has won 4 of their last 5 games against Alter, which is something that doesn't really happen often, but I mean, it's been all Fairmont over the last 5-6 years. So it's been pretty cool watching Fairmont really roll under head coach Dave Miller. But yeah, so Keith Byers will be back on the call with me in Week 3. It'll be myself and Josh Copeland a week from tonight, 7 o'clock to kick off Trotwood and Fairmont right here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. Tim says you did a nice job calling the game last night. Thank you. I appreciate that. I really enjoy calling. I love calling football and basketball are my favorite too. Volleyball is actually another sport I really enjoy calling. I work for Wright State calling their volleyball games, and people always ask, what are your favorite games to call? Basketball is always at the top of the list. Volleyball is right there at the top with it, just because it is a fast-paced, exciting sport back and forth. I really do enjoy calling that, but like obviously the big three for me is not baseball. I don't really enjoy baseball. I'm not a big fan of calling baseball games. I can do it and will do it, but it's not my favorite. But I really enjoy calling basketball, volleyball, and football. Those are my 3 favorite ones. But Tim, thank you for that. Talking a little Joey Votto as we sit here today. Again, it was announced a little bit ago that the Cincinnati Reds, gave an update as he had successful surgery on his left rotator cuff. He was put on the 60-day IL just about a few hours ago, so he's done for the 2022 season. He should be back by spring training of 23. But as I stated, I don't know what to make of that. I don't know how Reds fans should feel, because I do believe a guy like Joey Votto does deserve a farewell type season, right? I mean, does Joey Votto retire? Does he come back next year? I would have to think that a guy like Joey Votto, who has had such a successful individual career, can't go out like that, right? But every time you come back, you risk leaving on worse terms than where he was at originally. And that's always the concern that I have as far as the Cincinnati Reds are concerned. The Cincinnati Reds right now, they are not the worst team in the NL Central. They're the second to last team in the NL Central. In fact, they start a series tonight with the worst team in the NL Central, the Pittsburgh Pirates, both teams with 46 wins apiece, and the Cincinnati Reds 19 and a half games back in the NL Central. And like I said earlier, mercifully, this season is almost over. It is almost over as far as that's concerned, but the season is officially over for Joey Votto. So again, as I threw out a little bit ago, Joey Votto, he comes back next year. What does that mean? What does that mean for the Reds? What does that mean for him? Because eventually he's going to have to bid farewell. And whether that means bid farewell from his career in Cincinnati or bid farewell for his career as a baseball player as a whole, that's still up for debate. So on Facebook, this came in, Nolan Russell said the Reds should trade Joey Votto to Toronto. Yes, he's a Reds great, but we can lose without him, same as we have with him. Let's get some more young talent. The problem with that is you're acting as if the Reds traded Joey Votto, that they would be able to get some significant young talent. The Reds already have one of the most impressive pipelines in all of baseball. I don't know if you've been paying attention to some of the names that they got back in the trades, for Luis Castillo and Jesse Winker and Eugenio Suarez and guys like that. I mean, they have a very deep farm system. It was pretty solid before. Those trades just enhanced it, and the future of the Reds looks pretty bright. Keep in mind, just because you have big names in the farm system, it doesn't automatically necessarily mean that those are going to be future Reds. If the Reds operated the way the other winning teams in baseball operate, you could take some of those players, package them, and turn them in, create some very significant trade packages. The problem is to do that, you would have to acquire a big name player that would require a lot of money. We'll see what happens. Look, the Castellinis, they haven't spent big money in quite some time. The last big money they spent was, of course, with Homer Bailey, and the time before that was Joey Votto. For whatever reason, back in 2012, the Castellinis got a hair up their ass and decided they were going to spend a significant amount of money. They actually, I talked about Albert Pujols a little bit ago. the Reds were pursuing Albert Pujols. They wanted Albert Pujols. They were willing to offer him. I think Joey Votto got $25 million a year. I think Pujols would have got about $27 million a year when it was all said and done back then. Obviously, the Reds got the better of the two from that point on. But for whatever reason, I don't know where that Castellini mindset is. Walt Jocketty played a huge role in that because Walt Jocketty, of course, coming over to the front office from the Cardinals, I'm sure played a huge role in that push as well to get Albert Pujols into Cincinnati. He ultimately took the Angels' big offer and went and played in Los Angeles. But, Joey Votto right now hitting 205. The Reds haven't spent big money since him back in 2012. For whatever reason, whether it was Walt Jocketty's influence, whether it was Castellini just feeling a little, feisty one day, I don't know. But it's been 10 years since the Reds felt like they were in a position to spend significant money. And I mean significant money, like a max contract, not, $15 million a year for Mike Moustakas and $16 million a year for Castellanos. Those were good gets, by the way. I know Moustakas hasn't panned out, but I thought that was a very good. I was impressed with the Castellinis that offseason because I'm like, you could build a division title winning team going to get a couple guys at anywhere between 12 to 15 mil a year. Moustakas was a perfect get for the Reds, and I think you're going to get a lot of Moustakas type players, not production, hopefully better production, but you're going to get all-star level players at that 13, 14, 15 mil a year range that I think the Reds can pursue to complement the likes of Tyler Stevenson and Jonathan India, Nick Lodolo, Hunter Green, Graham Ashcraft, and guys like that. I just think that the Reds, they're picking their spot, and I don't know what that spot's going to be. Are they literally waiting for Votto's money to come off the books? There's no team out there that is going to trade for Votto and pay his contract. So the Reds would have to eat that money. But if I'm the Reds, I want to eat that money now and be done with it. If I'm the Reds, I want to move on from Votto now. I don't know. I feel conflicted because it sounds bad saying the Reds should just move on from Votto. We've seen the last of Joey Votto in a Reds jersey. I believe he deserves a farewell tour, right? Or a final season or a final, at bat at Great American Ballpark. Am I wrong in saying that? Or is it time that the Reds decide to be a big boy and decide to say, you know what, we got to be cutthroat. And part of being cutthroat is making tough decisions like telling Joey Votto, you've played your last game at Great American Ballpark, at least as a Red. I think that if the Reds really wanted to get the fans to understand that, hey, you know what, we are all about winning right now, we got to make that tough decision and tell Votto, although, yes, we're contractually, tied to you, but we have to find a way to get you off this roster because right now in 2023, every game, all 162 games, it is going to be about the major league development, of course, of Jonathan India, Tyler Stevenson, Graham Ashcraft, Nick Lodolo, Hunter Green, and those guys, De La Cruz and everyone else. Tyler Stevenson, if I'm the Reds, I tell Votto goodbye. I put Stevenson at first base, and I figure out in 2023 who your catcher is. I think the Reds would be wasting time if they bring back Tyler Stevenson to be the catcher in 2023. I think Tyler Stevenson should be transitioned over to first base. I think Joey Votto should be gone. And I think that the Reds need to really just focus on the youth movement. They embraced the youth movement this year. Again, I feel like they're doing the half-ass approach of, well, we're going all in on the youth movement, but we're keeping Joey Votto. What good is keeping Joey Votto towards the big picture of developing everyone and having a plan? Joey Votto is not going to be a part of the success of the Reds long-term. So bringing him back next year means it's pointless. It doesn't make any sense. Now, the sense is what matters because there's a lot of pennies and there's a lot of sense involved as to why he's still a Cincinnati Red. But all I got to say is that the Reds, if they want to convince me that they are 1 billion% invested into developing this team and winning in the immediate future, keeping Joey Votto does not signal that to me. Keeping Joey Votto means, well, we got to do him right by him. Moving on from him is not doing wrong by him. You got to do what's right for the organization. Got to do what's right for the organization. And like I said, if it was me, my opinion, my take, Tyler Stevenson is no longer going to be the catcher for the Reds. He's a great catcher. I absolutely get that. But 3 stints on the IL in 2022, all collision plays at the plate. I don't know if he's injury prone or not, but you know what? The Reds have to find a way to reduce the likelihood of stints on the IL. And if they're all coming from him behind the plate, you can do what you can to try to eliminate that. You could do what you can to implement preventative measures. Like I said, baseball, and I've made this take many times, baseball is the most preventative measured sport out there. They have taken away instincts out of the game. They have literally made baseball a calculator type game to where everything is calculated. Everything is basically done by the manual. When this happens, you do this. When this happens, you do that. And they do that and they justify it by, well, look, yes, he was rolling into the 7th inning, but his pitch count was this, and we have to take him out to prevent the blow up from happening. It's never about how they're playing now. It's about preventing the bad from happening. Well, here we are with Tyler Stevenson. Now the Reds have a decision to make. I mean, David Bell is the most preventative, measured, approach manager in Major League Baseball, in my opinion. And yet he has a chance here to do everything he can to prevent Tyler Stevenson from going back on the IL again. And yet they'll probably roll him back out at catcher. That doesn't make sense to me. You can't make every decision based on preventative measures and then continue to roll Tyler Stevenson out behind home plate. You just can't do it. Tyler Stevenson, he is valuable to you in the lineup, and he can't be a value to you if he's constantly on the IL because of collision plays at home. So I make him your first baseman. You have a couple good catchers in the pipeline. If they don't develop and they don't pan out in the next year and a half, then so be it. You're going to have money when the Votto money's off the books. Go buy a catcher. Go buy a catcher. That's kind of where I'm at with that. But yes, I think Joey Votto coming back next year, it's pointless. I don't understand it. If you want to bring him back and use him as a DH from time to time, but if he comes back, I guess let me reword this here. I'm fine if Joey Votto comes back, but if he comes back to be the Reds' everyday first baseman in 2023, that's a problem. That's a problem. I'm not a fan of that approach if I'm the Cincinnati Reds, and I hope they don't do that, but I have a pretty good feeling that that's exactly what's going to happen. Some guy on Facebook says, totally fine and happy to have Joey Votto back for one last year. The time to trade him was 5 years ago at $25 million. To quote Castellini, where's it going to go? Exactly. But at some time, I mean, I know it's always about the money, whether it's we don't have enough money or he's too much money. But sometimes you just kind of got to eat it. You know, you got to eat the money. You got to move on from Votto. And there's no better time than now. Every time he steps into that box, what's the purpose? Joey Votto is stepping into the box for what? What is his purpose for the Reds? He's not the first baseman of the future. I'll be surprised if he's even in Major League Baseball in the next year and a half anyways. I do not believe he should take one more at-bat for the Cincinnati Reds because every at-bat that he takes is an at-bat he's taking from a younger player that is supposed to be for them to develop and prepare to start winning in 2024. He's stunting the Reds' development every time he steps foot out on that field. It makes zero sense to me. He should be done. I don't want to see Votto in a Reds jersey anymore. I don't care how cutthroat that sounds. I'll be right back.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash.
Justin, you're awesome, baby.
Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
The mid-afternoon and early evening will be partly cloudy, a high near 88. Tonight's going to be partly cloudy, a low near 65. And tomorrow's going to be mostly cloudy, a high near 88. I'm Pete Spivak for 1410 ESPN Radio.
Progressive Snapshot can save you money based on how you drive and how much you drive. So the safer you drive, the more money you could save. Now, if you didn't hear that because you were yelling at another car while driving, let me say it again. You need to calm down. Yelling is just making everyone as stressed out as you are and letting them all know that you definitely aren't trying to save with Progressive Snapshot. And if you did hear it the first time because you weren't yelling at another car, nice work. You'd love Snapshot from Progressive because it rewards safe drivers. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Snapshot not available in California and North Carolina or from all agents.
The biannual blowout is just a week away, and we've got a lot of work to do.
Keenan's Rug Emporium is rolling out a Labor Day bonanza.
Have that flat weave shipment coming in.
He needs 10 new sales associates as the crowds loom large.
Someone run a stock check on all the Moroccan 8x10s?
Indeed can help him hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. We instantly connect you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
5X480. Dayton B100 V-Belt, one of the many parts Grainger carries. It's also the item that helped Rob carry the day. The job was on hold, deadline fast approaching. But a quick search on Grainger.com and Rob found his part. And with same-day pickup at his local branch, he and his crew got the job done, safely and on time. Get supplies and solutions for every industry with real-time product availability. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Hon, look, it's Harper. How did he know we were at the beach?
No clue, but he's not ruining our vacation. I packed Prilosec OTC. With just one pill in the morning, Prilosec OTC prevents excess acid production that can cause frequent heartburn, so we can enjoy ourselves.
Speaking of, time for our luau.
Aloha heartburn.
One pill, 24 hours, zero heartburn with Prilosec OTC. If possible, while taking Prilosec OTC, use as directed for 14 days to treat frequent heartburn, not for immediate relief.
When I grow up, I want to be a new pair of blue jeans.
When I grow up, I want to be a kid's first computer.
I want to be a warm fleece on a
I
cold
want to
day.
be a football
I want to be
stadium.
a bike that races around the country.
I want to be a bench on a forest trail.
When I grow up, I don't want to be a piece of garbage. And if you recycle me, I won't be.
Give your garbage another life. Recycle. Learn how at iwanttoberecycled.org. Brought to you by Keep America Beautiful and the Ad Council.
Your educational needs are unique. That's why Ohio Dominican University is proud to serve learners of all ages. At ODU, you'll find fully online master's programs like an MBA, flexible degree completion options, and a friendly community that supports you.
I definitely feel like I have been prepared through all of my courses here at Ohio Dominican University for the next step, for really launching myself into a career.
Explore Ohio Dominican's adult-friendly programs at ohiodominican.edu/online.
On Twitter, make sure to give us a follow. Search 1410 Kinner for Justin Kinner on Twitter. That's 1410 KINNER. And ESPN Dayton for the station Twitter handle.
All right, welcome back. It's the Justin Kinner Show here on a Friday. Kev Nash will be back with us coming up on Monday. So you're stuck with me here for the final 36 minutes of the show. But I hope everyone has some fun plans lined up for the weekend. Just had a couple people call in during the break and just go off on me. I was like, if you're going to go off on me, at least go off on me on the air. But mad at me about my Joey Votto take. They can't believe that I actually uttered the words, I don't want to see Joey Votto back in Cincinnati. I don't understand. This is why... Look, we have been conditioned to accept losing. We have been conditioned to care for more of the feel-good elements instead of, you know what feels good? Winning. Winning feels really good. So Mark Smith on Facebook, he says, that's so mean, Justin. Votto is the face of the Reds. Yes, I wish they could have traded him 5 years ago. With a lucrative contract like that, he was impossible. What do you mean he was impossible? Like, how is that impossible? If first of all, that's the Reds' problem. The fact that Joey Votto is the face of the Cincinnati Reds right now, that screams what the problem is. Joey Votto, like Albert Pujols, by the way, is not the face of the Cardinals, but he is one of the all-time Cardinals greats, no doubt, right? But like, that's what separates franchises like the Cardinals and the Reds. While the Cardinals fan base is sitting there right now enjoying a nostalgic, feel-good tip of the cap to one of their all-time greats and Albert Pujols, what they're also experiencing is a winning baseball team. You know what I mean? If the Cardinals were not a winning baseball team, they would not have Albert Pujols on this roster. And if they did have Albert Pujols on a losing roster, Cardinals fans would not say things like, well, Albert Pujols is the face of our franchise. The reason they couldn't say that is because that's not true and because they're a winning franchise. If Joey Votto, the guy that's hitting 202, is the face of your franchise, that's the problem. At best, he has hit 230 in the last 4 years. The guy that's hitting 230 is the face of your franchise, that's a problem. That's what I mean, Mark. I'm not being mean. I can't believe I'm about to say this, but your Cincinnati Bengals, I give them so much credit because you know how many tough decisions that they had to make to be great? You know how many greats that they had to bid farewell to be great? And maybe great is not the right word to use. Andy Dalton was not an all-time great, but Andy Dalton, you can argue, all right? You can argue Andy Dalton did more for the Bengals than Joey Votto has for the Cincinnati Reds. Hot take galore here on a Friday. I'm not saying that to get a reaction. I'm just being 100,000,000% honest. Andy Dalton won a lot of games for the Cincinnati Bengals. Andy Dalton led the Bengals to the playoffs for 5 straight years. Yes, they didn't win in the playoffs. I get that. That was his holdup. That's what put them in position to move on from Marvin Lewis and to go get a Joe Burrow, of course. But you know what? A guy that took you to 5 straight playoffs, a guy that led you to division title, the guy that was near MVP one year before going down with the injury. All I'm saying is that Andy Dalton did way more for the Bengals than Joey Votto has for the Reds. Joey Votto, what has he done for the Reds outside of what he accomplished? A lot of individual success. What has he done? Like, you don't associate Votto with winning. Like, let's be honest. Votto has hurt the Reds. If anything, Votto's contract, he has actually done more to hurt the Reds than he has to help the Reds. Like, I get it. It sounds weird, and I don't hate Joey Votto, but this idea that the Reds need to bring Votto back next year is silly. If next year is about following and finishing this rebuild, every player you've been developing this year, call him up to the majors next year. Let's find out what you have and what you don't have so that when you're ready to spend money for the 2024 season, you know exactly what you need to go out and get. Every time Votto steps foot in that box, he is taking an at-bat away from an unproven talent that needs to have a chance to prove that he can do it so that the Reds know where they are at within the stages of the rebuild. There is absolutely no purpose of Joey Votto taking another at-bat for the Cincinnati Reds. So where I'm complimenting the Bengals here is Joey Votto, I believe Andy Dalton, I feel like he did more for the Bengals than Votto has for the Reds. Votto has had a ton of individual success. He's won an MVP. I completely get that. And he'll go down as an all-time Reds great to where Andy Dalton will not for the Bengals. But Andy Dalton did more for trying to establish that winning culture in Cincinnati than Votto has. Votto didn't establish any winning culture in Cincinnati. Dalton did. Now, Dalton's, again, I'm not arguing that Dalton is a better football player than Votto is a baseball player. I'm arguing that when it comes to the emotions we feel for our sports stars, the Cincinnati Bengals looked at Andy Dalton, who they could have kept, who they could have said, you know what, we're going to draft this Joe Burrow kid. We don't have a good offensive line, and, we need to kind of ease him into it. We're going to go ahead and draft Joe Burrow. You're going to be the starter. We'll probably move you around the deadline. We'll send you to a place that, is suitable for you, and it's a win-win. We can ease Burrow into it. No, they just said, see ya. They said, adios, see ya. A.J. Green wanted to remain a Cincinnati Bengal. He's an all-time Bengals great. What did they say? See ya. Wouldn't want to be ya. We got T. Higgins. We got Jamar Chase. We got Tyler Boyd. We don't need A.J. Green coming around here wasting time on the field when we got legitimate pieces waiting to get time. Like, that's what I'm saying is the Bengals made tough decisions, and they had to be adults, and they had to finally flip that switch and decide to be a winning franchise. So the Bengals, if they could figure it out, I'm pretty sure the Reds can. I am not a fan of the idea of bringing Joey Votto back, and especially for the reason like what Mark Smith just said, that's so mean. I'm being mean by saying I don't want Joey Votto back in Cincinnati. I'm not being mean. I want to watch a winning team. I'm tired of watching a losing Reds team with the idea that, well, at least we can watch Joey Votto. Well, you know what? It's been a long, long time since Joey Votto was good enough for me to say that he's at least worth watching during this mess. He hasn't been good for a long time. And if you think that a guy that's hitting 220 or 202, is the face of this franchise, then that is the exact reason why this team is as much of a joke as what it is right now. Move on from Joey Votto. Thank you for the good times. You're welcome for putting you in position to win MVP. I'm not really sure what you did for us as a team to help us do anything, but whatever. When you think of all the greats from the Reds past, when you think of Joe Morgan, when you think of Johnny Bench, when you think of Barry Larkin, when you think of Pete freaking Rose, when you think about all those greats, the Lou Pinellas, you think of all the greats, you know what they did? They won. They won. You will always remember and correlate their success with winning. When you think of Joey Votto, you're going to think of, well, remember that cool Star Wars bobblehead they made with him that one time? I mean, what? What are we doing here? Why are we doing this? Oh, that's mean, Justin, to say that you don't want Votto back next year. I want a winning team next year. Man, I can't believe you guys made me defend the Cincinnati Bengals, but the Reds need to wake up and start thinking like the Bengals and say, you know what? No more nostalgic approaches to things. We can't do right by Votto at the expense of what's best for the team. And bringing him back and making him the everyday starting first baseman is an absolute joke. Mark, I'm sorry to put you on blast like that, but my goodness, that was not mean. That's called being cutthroat, and to win, you got to be cutthroat. When you want to be nice and just roll out the old guys just because, oh, well, they've been here a long time. Well, they've been here a long time because just like the Reds accepted losing, so did Joey Votto. My other big criticism of Joey Votto has always been the fact that he had never once held his team to a standard of winning. You know, we get mad at guys like Kevin Durant and stars in other sports where we say they throw temper tantrums, but what they're doing is they're trying to wake up their general managers and their owners and saying, hey, I'm great. I want to win. Let's win now while I'm in my prime. All right. You guys get mad when stars do that, but at least that shows that they want to win. Well, everyone thinks Kevin Durant's being a crybaby. Kevin Durant's looking at his watch and saying, my career clock is ticking and I got to win and I got to win now. So I can't sit here and let my ownership make bad decision after bad decision at the expense of my legacy. So I respect that about Kevin Durant. I respect that about LeBron James. I respect that about all of those guys because you know what? In the NFL, I respect those guys as well, saying, hey, let's win. Let's win now. Aaron Rodgers calling out his front office, basically holding him hostage for 2 years. Good. Aaron Rodgers called him out and said, you know what? You didn't provide me one single weapon in the first round of the draft until you drafted my backup or my replacement. Like, everyone got mad at Aaron Rodgers for that. I was like, good for you. You're defending yourself because your legacy's on the line. And you're trying to tell your front office that, hey, I don't want to leave. I want to win, and I want to win here, but you got to help me out. And if you're not going to help me out, I can't stay here because I want to go win. Joey Votto has never once gone to the Castellinis and said, guys, I appreciate that you took care of me financially. But, man, like, let's take advantage of the fact that I am an all-time Reds great. I want to win. I want to win here. Everyone says, oh, stars don't want to go to Cincinnati. Votto did want to stay in Cincinnati. That's why he signed the extension, because he would have got that money elsewhere. He could have probably got more elsewhere. He chose to stay in Cincinnati. Mark Schlemmer, when he was alive, rest in peace, my friend, he would always say that the one reason that Joey Votto was so comfortable staying in Cincinnati is because of the fanboy media and no one ever willing to call him out to say, do you even want to win? Do you want to win games? Do you want to be a part of a winner? Because at no point has he ever, when the Reds were trading away Eugenio Suarez and trading away Luis Castillo and trading away Jesse Winker and basically telling the fans to screw off and say, well, where are you going to go? Don't you think that as a fan, you would have loved for Joey Votto to come out and have your back and say, you know what, that's unacceptable. We need to, raise the bar as far as, our standard of excellence and wanting to win. No, he didn't do any of that. You know what he did? He went on TikTok. And by the way, go watch all his TikToks. His freaking shoulder looked just fine in all those TikToks. Look, it sounds like I hate Joey Votto. I don't hate Joey Votto, but this idea that Joey Votto should be put up on this pedestal of untouchable and not moving on from him because, it's Joey Votto. Joey Votto, what? What has he done? What have the Reds done? What have the Reds done during Joey Votto's time? I could tell you so many great things that the Reds did during Barry Larkin and Joe Morgan and Pete Rose and Johnny Bench. I could tell you so many. I mean, dang. Hell, as much as we love Ken Griffey, it's not like a lot of people look at Ken Griffey Jr. and say, man, he was an all-time Reds great. He was an all-time great that came to play for the Reds for the back half of his career. There's a reason. I mean, hell, Ken Griffey doesn't even look at the Reds as his team. There's a reason that at the Field of Dreams game, when he came walking out of the corn, he had his branded shirt on there. He wasn't sporting the Cincinnati Reds. Ken Griffey Sr. was, because he loved being a Red. There was winning associated with him. There's not winning associated with Joey Votto. Again, Joey Votto is all about the TikToks. He's all about the, hey, his $225 million contract. He's all about that. But at no point, I want my stars to hold my team accountable when it's necessary. When my team is losing and my team is trading away our best players and our team's not bringing in good players to replace them and our team is making bad decision after bad decision, I want my star to hold my front office accountable. And unless he did that in a TikTok that I missed somewhere, Joey Votto never did that. So please tell me, why do we owe Joey Votto that loyalty of, oh, well, we can't, start a young player over you next year because, that would just be mean. No, I'm sorry, but the Cincinnati Reds, if they want to be a winner, they got to be cutthroat. The Bengals were cutthroat moving on from A.J. Green. The Bengals were cutthroat with Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton's not Joey Votto by any means, but Andy Dalton was a guy that led them to the playoffs for 5 straight years. And then you saw what had happened. You see how tough it is to get to the playoffs. Yeah, it was about him not winning in the playoffs. But it's tough to get to the playoffs. Joey Votto is not even getting the Reds to the playoffs. 518-1410. I'll promise I'm done bitching about the Reds. But this idea that Votto is just unmovable is ridiculous. You don't plan on winning next year anyways. Cut him, count your losses, and let's get some young talent out on that field so we know what we have heading into 2024 when they finally decide to spend money so that we can cheer for the Reds and be proud of the Reds the way you Bengals fans are about your Bengals team. I'll be right back.
The Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. Presented by Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty. Weekdays at 3 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Refresh your home with 11% off the perfect door update from Menards. Mastercraft makes great doors inside and out. Choose from the best in-stock selection, including pre-finished doors, or design your door your way with our door designer and get free shipping to the store in approximately 7 days. All Mastercraft interior and exterior door systems are 11% off. Good through August 21st. Savings are mail-in rebate. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Save big money at Menards.
Attention all business owners who rent or lease space, including storage space. Stop wasting your money paying someone else for your space. You can now save a ton of money and own your own building with the incredible sale prices from General Steel. That's right, start saving money every month on renting space from others. Just call 877-25-STEEL to see how General Steel can help you save money. Our 50-year structural warranty buildings are custom designed for your needs and save you a ton of money. Call 877-25-STEEL.
Take it from a successful entrepreneur. If you need to expand or start a new business, you need General Steel.
Great team and the competitive pricing is the reason I went with General Steel.
Call 877-25-STEEL now, and you can get any of our popular quick construction structures, including a 40 by 60 foot building or a 50 by 100 clear span building fast and easy. Call 877-25-STEEL. That's 877-257-8335. 877-25-STEEL.
With Discover, you can redeem your rewards for cash in any amount at any time. Learn more at discover.com/redeem rewards. Terms apply.
If you're looking to obtain a quality education at a low price, look no further than Clark State. With over 160 degrees and certificates available, Clark State has a path for you to reach your goals. Our tuition rates are one of the lowest in Ohio, so getting that degree is easier than ever without